Chapter 103 is almost equal to NBNB. The curtain fell. Some people were happy while others were sad. 32473, 21147, 25120320, 119, 87, 119, 46, 71, 101, 73, 76, 119, 120, 46, 67, 111, 109, square root read square root book, 230 greater or equal to be the one who failed the most was naturally Di-Chen. Not only did he not win anything despite holding close to 1,000 gold coins, he also became the biggest laughingstock of this auction. His reputation was completely destroyed. And the one who was most disappointed was Lord Chunshan. He came with confidence and thought that he had everything under his control. Who would have thought that someone would come along and ruin his plans? In the end, he returned in disappointment. And the luckiest was Feng Qiuhuang. Just as he was about to lose to Di-Chen, he received Ouyang Shua's help at the crucial moment and won the iron floating armor forging technique manual. And the wisest was Bai Hua. He consciously avoided the popular items and won the wood soul orb at the lowest price. And the one who received the most attention was naturally Ouyang Shu. He won 5 out of 10 items, monopolizing half of them. Furthermore, he obtained 3 sets of the precious weapon and equipment manuals, becoming the biggest winner. And as the auction ended, the news of what happened spread like wildfire throughout the China region through the mouths of the lords who participated in the auction. Who says Wui defended his position as the overlord of the China region with his formidable financial strength. As for Di-Chen's previous provocation towards Hu says Wui, it undoubtedly became a joke. And in a short period of time, the direction of public opinion changed. This was Ouyang Shua's first public appearance. Apart from his impressive financial strength, he also attracted a lot of attention. During the intermission, his intimate conversation with Bai Hua, dragon-seeking acupuncture point and siege lion also attracted a lot of attention. And the repercussions did not stop there. After the auction, Feng Qiuhuang publicly announced his withdrawal from the Handan alliance. The dispute between Di-Chen and Feng Qiuhuang during the auction had already evolved into countless versions. Most of the lords did not approve of Di-Chen's arrogance. They felt that Di-Chen thought too highly of himself as the leader of the alliance. Therefore, the public was overwhelmingly supportive of Feng Qiuhuang's withdrawal. In a short period of time, the Handan alliance was on the verge of collapse. The players were guessing how long the Handan alliance could last. Living up to everyone's expectations, wolf warriors dealt a fatal blow to Handan alliance. Following closely behind Feng Qiuhuang, Battle Wolf also announced that they would be withdrawing from the Handan alliance, roping in a few of the Jianya region's lords to form the Iron Blood alliance. After Lord Chuanshan's split, the once glorious 6 hegemons of Handan once again suffered heavy losses. Only Di-Chen and Sha Pejun were left, which meant that they only existed in name. Just when everyone thought that the Handan alliance was about to disband, Di-Chen unexpectedly announced that Lao Ai, who also belonged to the capital, would lead his Wanshe town to join the Handan alliance. In the previous territorial defense battle, Baiyan had ranked 10th in the China region. His strength was even higher than Bai Hua's, so he was not to be underestimated. With the addition of Lao Ai, the Handan alliance was able to continue. However, after losing Feng Qiuhuang and Battle Wolf, their 2 pillars, their strength was no longer as strong as before. They couldn't even compare to the Spring and Autumn alliance. Ouyang Shua didn't stay idle either. After the auction, he immediately added the Siege Lion and Dragon seeking acupuncture points into the alliance. Under Bai Hua's suggestion, the alliance was officially named the Alliance of Mountains and Seas, with Ouyang Shua as its leader. The members of the Alliance of Mountains and Seas consisted of Ouyang Shua's Shanhai Town, Bai Hua's Lingxi Town, Mulan Yu's Mulan Town, Dragon Seeking Town, and Black Lion Town. Because Mulan Yu's territory had just been upgraded to a level 1 town, she didn't even have 200 gold coins on hand, so she missed the auction. After learning about the auction, he even sent a messenger pigeon to Ouyang Shuo to congratulate him. After the establishment of the Shan and Hai Alliance, Ouyang Shuo made a promise to the members that the Shan and Hai town would prioritize the supply of weapons and equipment, including tang sabers, infantry armors, and all sorts of bows. As for the radiant armor, it was not on the list. Firstly, the craftsmanship of the radiant armor was complicated, and the Shanghai town could barely satisfy its own needs. Secondly, Ouyang Shuo viewed the future radiant armor heavy cavalry unit as the future trump card of the Shanghai town. This was the most important trump card, and he did not want to easily share it with others, even if they were his allies. In order to form a deterrent, Ouyang Shuo didn't hide the news of the alliance. The Mountain and Sea Alliance was officially revealed and immediately surpassed the Han-Dan Alliance, the Spring and Autumn Alliance, and the Iron Blood Alliance to become the #1 alliance in the China region. With the existence of the Alliance of Mountains and Seas, Di Qin wouldn't be able to touch the Siege Lions so easily. All of a sudden, the situation in the China region was changing. The drama was happening one after another, dazzling everyone's eyes. Is almost equal to NB April 1st, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. System announcement. Official currency exchange platform has been officially opened, please check it out yourself. Through the currency exchange platform, players could put their in-game coins on the platform at any time. All players had to do was bind the game currency, and after deducting the 2% processing fee, the credits earned from the game currency would automatically be transferred to the player. It was very convenient and fast. With this exchange platform, it would be much easier for people like Di Qin to purchase gold coins. Fortunately, Ouyang Shuo had anticipated this and had prepared a countermeasure in advance. System announcement. In order to facilitate transactions between players, the real-time auction platform has been officially opened. Players can enter the player-exclusive auction platform through the auction hall in the Royal City or the mid-tier market in the territory. The system will charge 15% transaction tax. Please check it out yourself. The launch of the real-time auction platform would greatly facilitate transactions between adventure-type players and lord-type players, as well as between lord-type players. Adventure-type players could put up special items for their territory, such as special items such as territory special scrolls, and sell them to lord-type players on the real-time auction platform. Correspondingly, lord-type players could also make use of their advantages, and sell the weapons forged by the weapon workshops to adventure-type players through the real-time auction platform, in order to obtain construction funds. Between lord-type players, they could exchange what they needed through the real-time auction platform. The China region was vast, and had a variety of terrains. The distribution of resources in the players' territories was also very different. Some territories were rich in iron ore, but lacked in wood. Some territories were the opposite, rich in wood, but lacked iron ore. The real-time auction platform provided an opportunity for both parties to exchange what they needed. More importantly, the transaction tax of the real-time auction platform was 5% lower than the market trading platform. After the auction, Ouyang Shuo took stock of his funds. In the entire auction, including the 500 gold lent to Feng Qiuhuang, he had spent a total of 6,100 gold coins, leaving 1,470 gold coins. Of the 5 items that were auctioned, the Tang Saber Forging Technique Manual was handed over to the weapon workshop, the substitution doll was automatically placed in the storage bag, the Spring Breeze Rain Talisman was handed over to the Pool Town, and the Song Dynasty Infantry Armor Forging Technique Manual was handed over to the Armor Workshop. The most troublesome item was the last item, Song Dynasty Bow Technique Manual. Bows involved carpenters, blacksmiths, leathersmiths, and bow makers. Hence, they needed to establish a department to supervise the manufacturing of bows, just like the radiant armor. For this, Ouyang Shuo summoned the various officers of the military office to the meeting hall for a discussion. Ouyang Shuo looked around and said, "We've gained a lot from this auction. We've obtained the urgently needed weapons, infantry armor, and bow technique manuals. How to turn these manuals into tangible advantages and form a complete military industry is the most important thing for the military office. For this, I've decided to establish a bow department under the military office to supervise the manufacturing of bows. The weapon workshop, the armor workshop, and the bow department will be the three pillars of the military industry. They will be responsible for the forging of weapons, armor, and bows respectively." Ouyang Shuo turned to look at Go Hongliang and said, "Division Leader Go, I'll leave the establishment of the bow department to you, including the appointment of the division leaders. I hope that the bow department will be established within a week." "Don't worry, sir. I'll personally oversee this matter," Go Hongliang replied. Ouyang Shuo nodded and said, "That's good. The bow department cannot be less than 300 people. Division Leader Go will need to coordinate the training of various skilled apprentices, and there cannot be any mistakes. My request is to ensure that every soldier in the army is equipped with a bow. Infantry will be equipped with longbows, while cavalry will be equipped with bows. Divine arms and those used to defend the city will be the main weapons. Especially, we must prioritize research and install them on the walls as soon as possible, including the walls of Friendship Town. Not long from now, there will be a fierce battle to defend the city. We cannot be careless." "Understood. Also, in order to mass-produce the bows, the tendons and horns will be a big problem. Division Leader Go, you must arrange for the cavalry to go hunting frequently, and hunt large amounts of wild bison for their tendons and horns." Ouyang Shuo continued to instruct. Go Hongliang said confidently, "That won't be a problem. The cavalry is already in place, and can be mobilized at any time." "Very good. Su Kuan, how many blacksmith apprentices does the weapon workshop train?" Ouyang Shuo asked. Replying to Sir. Last month, the weapon workshop sent a total of 20 beginner blacksmiths to the armor workshop. Currently, there are 50 apprentices, Su Kuan replied. Ouyang Shuo shook his head and said unhappily, "Not enough, far from enough. This month, we need to send at least 100 beginner blacksmiths to the armor workshop, 30 to the bow department, and the weapon workshop itself needs to keep 50 beginner blacksmiths. Can you do it?" C is identical to C is identical to Su Kuan nodded awkwardly and said, "I'll do my best." "It's not your best, but you must do it. If you're short of people, you can ask for them from the census department. I'll let them know. If you can't do it, I'll remove you from your position. Do you understand?" Ouyang Shuo said seriously. "Yes, I promise to complete the task." In the end, Ouyang Shuo looked at Zhao Yufang of the War Preparation Department and said, "The War Preparation Department needs to coordinate with the Material Reserve Department on the mining of iron ore. Also, we need to contact the Material Reserve Department to find suitable wood for the bows and spears." "Yes, I promise to complete the task," Zhao Yufang said loudly. "Very good. Then that's it. Everyone, go back to work. I hope to see your results in a month," Ouyang Shuo said. "Yes, sir. Font." Chapter 104 is almost equal to and beyond the 2nd of April, Friendship Town, with the help of the headquarters, had finally completed the construction of the city walls. Until the completion, the nomadic tribes did not notice that a military fortress had been quietly built to the south of them. In order to further strengthen the defensive capabilities of Friendship Town, Ouyang Shuo sent an official letter to Zhou Haichen, requesting him to start the construction of the moat. The scale of the moat was based on the headquarters, from the Friendship River in the west to the Qiushui River in the east, forming a large arc that surrounded Friendship Town. In this way, Friendship Town would be surrounded by water on all sides. With the support of the Navy, they would be able to advance and retreat at will. They would be in an invincible position. Before Friendship Town was completely turned into a military fortress, Ouyang Shuo was not prepared to make contact with the nomadic tribes. After settling the matters of Friendship Town, Ouyang Shuo set off for the Mystic Bird tribe with Guo Hongliang and Tian Wenjing. Li Mingliang led the first squadron of the cavalry battalion and was responsible for the security along the way. As they passed by Pool Town, Ouyang Shuo stopped for an hour to listen to Zhao Dexian's report on the recent work of Pool Town. He also took the time to inspect the newly formed cavalry battalion of Pool Town. Seeing that the Qingming festival was approaching, Zhao Dexian, as the food base of the territory, had already started various preparations for the spring sowing. The original plan of 20,000 mu of farmland had already been completed. Under the effect of the spring breeze rain talisman, all of it had become fertile farmland. These 20,000 mu of farmland would all be planted with rice. Apart from the farmland, Pool Town had also built a large lumberyard in the forest area to the south. The wood here was of a higher quality than that of the headquarters. The wood was denser and the storage was more abundant. Currently, the wood needed for the advanced shipyard across the river was completely from the lumberyard in Pool Town. Because it was about to enter the busy farming season, the construction of the city walls had to be temporarily put on hold. After the spring sowing was over, the construction would start again. Fortunately, the area was relatively peaceful, so it did not matter much if the construction was delayed. At 11 o'clock in the morning, after 2 hours of trekking, Ouyang Shuo and his party finally arrived at the Mystic Bird tribe. Unlike the cold reception they received last time, the chief of the tribe, Shi Xiong, personally welcomed Ouyang Shuo and his party outside the village. "My lord, welcome to the Mystic Bird tribe," Shi Xiong said enthusiastically. This was the magic of food. Ever since the Mystic Bird tribe cooperated with the Shanghai town, they had an abundance of food and no one in the tribe had to go hungry. As the chief, Shi Xiong naturally changed his attitude and no longer dared to put on airs in front of Ouyang Shuo. However, if Shi Xiong knew that what they had obtained was not even 1/30th of the Wolf Mountain mine's output, who knew what he would think? Ouyang Shuo, the capitalist, smiled and said without batting an eyelid, "Greetings to the leader, greetings to the great shaman. Everything is fine, please." Shi Xiong led the way in front, and Ouyang Shuo walked shoulder to shoulder with him into the stronghold. After the members of both sides met in the stronghold's meeting hall, Ouyang Shuo left Tian Wenjing and Shi Xiong to discuss the matter regarding the in-depth cooperation between Shanghai Town and the Mystic Bird tribe. He got up and went to the stronghold's ancestral temple to visit the great shaman. The ancestral temple was built at the highest point of the stronghold. There were more than 200 steps. Ascending the steps, the great shaman welcomed Ouyang Shuo at the entrance. This was an old man with one foot in the grave. His eyes were turbid, and it seemed like he was about to enter the grave. Such an old man was the spiritual leader of the Mystic Bird tribe, and was revered by the tribesmen. "Guest from afar, welcome." The great shaman's voice was hoarse. Ouyang Shuo didn't dare to be negligent and said sincerely, "Greetings to the great shaman. The gift from the great shaman last time was a great help to Shanghai Town. In order to express my gratitude, I specially prepared a small gift. I hope the great shaman will kindly accept it." Ouyang Shuo took out a luminous pearl from his storage pouch, and handed it to the young shaman beside the great shaman. This luminous pearl was obtained when they annihilated a large bandit camp. The young shaman had never seen such a treasure, and was so shocked that he didn't dare to accept it. "Lord is too polite, such a precious gift, I really don't deserve it." The great shaman gestured for the young shaman to accept it, and then led Ouyang Shuo forward, saying, "Lord, please follow me." The ancestral temple of the Mystic Bird tribe was completely built with stone masonry, and was a relatively complete building complex. An outsider like Ouyang Shuo naturally couldn't enter the main hall of the ancestral temple, and the two of them went to the reception room next to the ancestral temple. "Great shaman, the Shanghai town is willing to establish a friendly and cooperative relationship with the various tribes in the mountain. I wonder if the great shaman is willing to mediate between them? After the small talk, Ouyang Shuo went straight to the main topic. The great shaman opened his turbid eyes, and a bright light flashed and said, "Our mystic bird tribe is in contact with the surrounding 4 tribes. Since Lord has this idea, this old man will invite them. In that case, many thanks to the great shaman." Ouyang Shuo was overjoyed. When leaving the mystic bird tribe, Ouyang Shuo left Tian Wenjing behind, and let him be in charge of negotiating with the other tribes, and the specific content of the cooperation could be carried out according to the mystic bird tribe. At the same time, in order to express his gratitude to Ouyang Shuo for the luminous pearl, the great shaman gave Ouyang Shuo a pair of hummingbirds from the mystic bird tribe. These hummingbirds were extremely intelligent, and could transmit messages over long distances. Is almost equal to NB. On the 3rd of April, the Shanghai town harvested the potatoes. Because the land was barren, the potato yield was only about 1,000 units per mu. 2,000 mu of land produced a total of 1 million units of potatoes. The territory collected 70,000 units of potatoes in the form of agricultural taxes, and Ouyang Shuo gave all of them to the War Preparedness Department to be used as military rations. With this batch of potatoes, along with some grains and meat, the food crisis of the Shanghai town was finally resolved, and there was no longer a need to purchase food from the market on a large scale. After harvesting the potatoes, Ouyang Shuo did not plant rice on the 2,000 mu of land, but ordered the Department of Agriculture to arrange for all the farmers to plant cotton. As the saying goes, clothing, food, shelter, and transportation, not a single one can be missing. The current Shanghai town still relied heavily on purchasing cloth from the market, and did not have the ability to be self-sufficient. As for the silkworm industry that the Textile Association was cultivating, the industry had yet to take shape, and silk was a rare and expensive cloth, and was not suitable for large-scale promotion in the territory. Cotton was different. With it, the territory could skip the hemp cloth, and directly use cotton. Therefore, it was imperative to plant cotton. It just so happened that the 2,000 mu of land was not fertile, and if they planted rice, the profits would be limited, so it was better to plant cotton, which had lower soil requirements. Is almost equal to NB. On the 4th of April, after the great shaman of the mystic bird tribe mediated, another 3 mountain barbarian tribes agreed to cooperate with the Shanghai town. The scale of these 3 tribes was slightly smaller than the mystic bird tribe, with only 2,000 people. Another tribe rejected the great shaman's invitation. That tribe was called the Swift Wind tribe, and it was larger than the mystic bird tribe, with more than 5,000 people. After knowing that the mystic bird tribe had attached themselves to the Shanghai town, they regarded themselves as the representatives of the Shanghai town, and were very indignant, so they refused to cooperate with the Shanghai town. With the 3 tribes joining the alliance, the number of miners in the Wolf Mountain mine increased to 5,000. Basically, the capacity of the Wolf Mountain mine had already reached a state of saturation, and adding more miners would be somewhat redundant. Because the Swift Wind tribe refused to cooperate with the Shanghai town, Ouyang Shuo had no choice but to strengthen the defense of the Wolf Mountain mine. 300 young and strong men were selected from each tribe, and together with the 2 previous companies, they were reorganized into the Wolf Mountain Guard Battalion, with the Mystic Bird tribe's Shi Lang as the battalion commander. The other company leader, Shi Bao, was transferred to the Shanghai town's headquarters. Other than participating in the operation of the Wolf Mountain mine, the 3 tribes sent a total of 500 of their most elite barbarian warriors to join the army of the Shanghai town's headquarters. For this, Ouyang Shuo chose 200 soldiers from the Shanghai town's residents, and combined them with the 3 previous infantry companies, forming 2 infantry battalions at once. Inside the Shanghai town's meeting hall, Ouyang Shuo announced the personnel changes of the infantry. Zhao Sihu. Here we are. I order you to use the original 1st Company of the Infantry Battalion as the corps, in addition to the 200 soldiers from the Shanghai town, and choose another 200 people from the barbarian tribes to form the Shanghai town's City Defense Battalion, Ouyang Shua said. Zhao Sihu was a little confused. Yes. Not bad. The main responsibility of the City Defense Battalion is to protect the headquarters, and the military camp is set up within the city. In order to adapt to the requirements of defending the City Defense Battalion consists of 2 archer companies, 2 hand companies, and 1 sword and shield company. The original 1st Company is the Sword and Shield Company, and the 200 people from the Shanghai town are trained to be the Hand Company. The barbarian hunters are good at archery, so they are trained to be the Archer Company, Ouyang Shua explained. Don't worry, sir, I promise to complete the mission, Zhao Sihu said loudly. Ouyang Shua turned to look at Shi Wansui and said, General Shi, this general is here, please give your orders, my lord. I order you to use the original 2nd and 3rd Companies as the corps, in addition to the 300 elite soldiers sent by the tribes to form a heavy infantry battalion made up of barbarian warriors. Heavy infantry? But we don't have heavy armor. Shi Wansui was also confused. Ouyang Shua shook his head and said, Who said we don't have heavy armor? The armor workshop is speeding up the production of infantry armor, and the weapons workshop is also forging tang swords. These 2 main battle equipment will be given priority to the heavy infantry battalion. The other generals immediately looked at Shi Wansui with envy. Not to mention the infantry armor, that thing weighed 29 kilograms, and only the barbarians could carry it. However, the tang swords were standard equipment, regardless of whether it was the cavalry battalion, the City Defense Battalion, or the Navy Battalion, they could all be equipped with tang sword. Who would have thought that the heavy infantry battalion would take the lead? Shi Wansui laughed and said excitedly, Then there's no problem, thank you for your support, my lord. The heavy infantry battalion's barracks will be outside the city. During this period of time, the general needs to strengthen their training, especially the weight training. I don't want your soldiers to be unable to carry the heavy armor when the time comes. That would be a joke. Ouyang Shua continued. Don't worry, my lord, this general will train them fiercely. Ouyang Shua nodded and said, Then I'll wait and see. When you are truly equipped to fight, I will personally give the heavy infantry battalion a name. This was a great honor. Up until now, there hadn't been a battalion in Shanghai town that had their own name. From this, it could be seen how much importance Ouyang Shua placed on the heavy infantry battalion. Soldiers viewed honor as their lives. Shi Wansui's blood was boiling and he loudly said, I will definitely not let my lord down. Font. Chapter 105. April 5th was China's traditional festival, the Qingming Festival. After breakfast, Ouyang Shua brought Binger to the cemetery to sweep the graves of his relative. To his surprise, his aunt, Lin Jing, made a special trip from Shanghai to Jiaozhou to sweep the graves of his grandparents. The night before her aunt left Jiaozhou, the 2 of them had a rather deep conversation in her hotel room. Little Shua, you still won't tell me your in-game ID? Lin Jing asked angrily. Ouyang Shua was in a difficult position. His aunt clearly wanted to lay her cards on the table. After the system auction, Ouyang Shua discovered that he had become more and more confident, especially the establishment of the alliance of mountains and seas, which made his influence in the game more stable. Looking at his relatives, Ouyang Shua's expression was complicated. He sighed and chose to believe her in the end. He said solemnly, Aunt, I can tell you my in-game ID. But you have to promise me that you won't tell anyone, including your partner, Siyun. You can't even tell Siyun? That's right. What are you doing? Why are you being so secretive? His aunt was a little indignant. Ouyang Shua couldn't help but be cautious. He said again, Aunt, I need a clear answer. Lin Jing was startled. Feeling Ouyang Shua's determination, she calmed down and said, "Fine, I promise you that I won't tell anyone about your in-game ID, including Seun. Can you tell me now? Little Shua, if you can't give me a satisfactory answer, I'll teach you a lesson." Ouyang Shua nodded. He understood his aunt's character. Just like his deceased mother, he had inherited his grandmother's good qualities. She would never go back on her word, and would never go back on her word. "Have you heard of Duowui?" Ouyang Shua asked. "Of course. Who doesn't know him? He's the #1 feudal lord in China. Why are you working for him?" his aunt asked curiously. Ouyang Shua coughed and said calmly, "I am Duowui." "What?" His aunt stood up in shock and said in disbelief, "What did you say? You're Duowui? Today isn't April Fool's Day. Don't lie to me." Ouyang Shua had long since expected his aunt's reaction, and he still said calmly, "Do you think there's a need for me to lie to you about this?" Lin Jing looked at her nephew in disbelief, as if she was looking at a little monster. Seeing that Ouyang Shua was still calm, she muttered, no wonder you don't want to tell me your ID. So that's how it is. Heavens, what kind of freak is this?" Ouyang Shua had an embarrassed expression on his face. He was truly helpless towards this little aunt of his. He bitterly smiled and said, "Little aunt, I'm your nephew. How can you speak of me like this? Isn't it difficult? The outside world is guessing which mysterious family's descendant who said Wui is. Who would have thought that it's actually a commoner like you?" Little aunt was still a little excited. Ouyang Shua burst into laughter and said, "Nobles, generals, and ministers, do they have guts?" Lin Jing was startled once again. She sized Ouyang Shua up again and said in a rare tone, "Not bad. It seems that Auntie has really underestimated you before. Little Shua, it's not by chance that you can achieve such result." Ouyang Shua didn't want to be entangled on this topic, so he changed the topic and asked, "Auntie, you called me to enter this game before. Do you have any inside information?" Sure enough, Lin Jing's attention was diverted by Ouyang Shua's question, and she explained, "Yes. Seun and I have participated in the internal testing of this game. According to Seun's speculation, this game should be very unusual. There are too many unreasonable and abnormal aspects. It's definitely not as simple as a game. Therefore, the studio resolutely stopped other games and fully devoted itself to this game." Ouyang Shua nodded. He really admired Seun's decisiveness. Seun was able to make the correct judgment under the situation where she didn't have complete information. She was indeed worthy of being the head of the second largest mercenary group in China. As for this game, I've learned a little bit about it by chance. I can't say anything else, but at least your choice is correct. Also, I want to remind you that the currency exchange platform has been opened, right? If your studio isn't short of money, try not to sell those hard-earned gold coins." Ouyang Shua tactfully reminded. With a puzzled expression, Lin Jing curiously asked, "Why? Isn't our studio's purpose in playing games to earn money by selling game coins? Little Shua, since you're able to achieve such results in the game, do you know any inside information? Quickly tell Auntie." Ouyang Shua shook his head and said, "I've said everything I can. It's up to your studio whether you want to listen to my advice or not. As for the other information, Auntie, you don't need to ask. I won't tell you even if you ask. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. If you don't pay attention, you might lose everything. For safety's sake, whether it's in the game or in real life, it's better for us to contact each other less. Let's wait for the right time." Lin Jing looked at Ouyang Shua as though she was looking at a stranger. She couldn't imagine when a boy who used to be so innocent had become so mature and could say such words. She seemed to see Seun's shadow in Ouyang Shua. "What do you mean by the right time?" Lin Jing couldn't help but curiously ask. Ouyang Shua shook his head again and said, "Buddha said, I can't say it. I can't say it." Lin Jing dispiritedly gave up on pestering Ouyang Shuo and helplessly said, "All right. Since you're so insistent, then you must have your own difficulties. Auntie won't force you." Knowing that you're doing so well in the game, Auntie is relieved. "As for your suggestion, I'll consider it when I get back." "Thank you for your understanding, Auntie," Ouyang Shuo said with a gratified expression. "All right, I can't stay in Jiaozhou for long. I'll fly back to Shanghai early tomorrow morning. You should also rest early," his aunt finally said. "All right. Rest early, Auntie. Good night." Ouyang Shuo got up and bid his farewell. "Good night." After leaving the hotel, Ouyang Shuo didn't take a taxi home but chose to walk instead. In any case, the hotel wasn't far from the Heavenly Court district. Walking on the busy street, Ouyang Shuo looked pensive as he looked at the colorful and bustling night scene. After coming to a showdown with his aunt, his heart suddenly felt a lot more relaxed, as though a heavy shackle had been removed. It was really tiring to guard such an important secret alone. During this period of time, there was a storm brewing in the game, and it wasn't calm in real life either. The news of Song when purchasing land, according to Ouyang Shuo's method, was first known by the Song Consortium's ally, the Ruan Consortium. Ruan Ping quickly followed the method and successfully purchased a level 3 village. Following that, the news spread like wildfire, quickly spreading through the circle of medium-sized forces. In an instant, there was a wave of land purchases in the game. Every day, there would be so-called lucky people who became billionaires overnight, creating one legend after another that became rich overnight. Among these people, there were naturally those who couldn't bear to be left out and took the initiative to show off on the forums or even the mainstream media. Just like that, news of consortiums purchasing gaming territories at high prices kept coming out, pushing the game Earth on Low to the forefront. The people were all curious about what kind of magic this game had to be able to make these financial groups invest so much money into it. Ordinary people were just there to watch the excitement. At most, there were those who were curious or ambitious who used this as an excuse to join the army of the game. As for the medium-sized forces and countless small forces who didn't have insider information, they couldn't sit still. They racked their brains to find out the truth behind the matter. In a society like China, the entire society was like a big net, and the relationships between the forces were complicated. With the intention to find out, the secret information could no longer be hidden, and it spread to the small forces in advance. This further intensified the wave of land purchases in the game. Such a large-scale movement finally alerted the people. Some people with a keen sense of smell questioned the federal government, demanding that they step forward and give everyone an explanation. At this point, the federal government could only speed up the immigration preparations and do a good job of public relations. As for the so-called explanation, that naturally didn't exist. The government publicly announced that the purchase of land in the game was entirely a business activity of the enterprises, and the federal government wouldn't interfere. Ouyang Shuo didn't expect that he would inadvertently cause such a chain reaction, and he didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse. It was already 9 o'clock at night when he returned home, and Binger was still awake. The little girl had been listless the entire day, and couldn't lift her spirits at all. Only when she saw her aunt did she feel a little happy. Ouyang Shuo knew that Binger was a thoughtful child. On a day like today, she must be missing her parent. After coaxing Binger to sleep, it was already 10 o'clock at night. Ouyang Shuo quickly washed up and logged into the game. In the game, it was also the tomb sweeping day. Early in the morning, the military office had already gone to the cemetery to sweep the graves of the fallen soldiers on behalf of Lord Ouyang Shuo. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the mayor of Pool Town, Zhao Dexian, sent someone to report that when the herb farmers went out to collect herbs, they found a large wild tea garden on the mountain to the south. According to the herb farmer's description, the back of the leaves of the tea tree were covered with white hairs, which should be the famous Bai Hao tea in Guangxi. Ouyang Shuo was shocked. This Beihai tea would still be very famous even in modern society. With this, the basic building of a level 3 town would finally have a tea garden. Such a tea tree needed to grow on the high mountains between the clouds. Therefore, Ouyang Shua didn't consider transplanting it, but ordered Zhao Dexian to personally bring professional tea farmers to inspect it. If the situation was true, and it was really Beihai tea, then they would build a tea garden in the mountains. Chapter 106. On the 6th of April, Feng Qiuhuang finally raised another 500 gold coins through the currency exchange platform. Without any delay, she mailed it to Ouyang Shua. Along with the gold coins, there was also a letter of thanks. After receiving the gold coins, Ouyang Shua called Ing Yu and the Bank of Four Seas manager, Yang Yun. Apart from keeping 500 gold coins as a backup, he handed over the remaining 1,000 gold coins to the Bank of Four Seas. Ouyang Shua looked at Ing Yu and said, "There are two things that the Finance Bureau needs to do with this fund. The first was to set up branches of the bank in North Sea Town, Pool Town, and Friendship Town to provide low-interest loan services to the citizens there. Secondly, increase the support for the rival industries, workshops, and shops to encourage them to expand their operations and promote the economic prosperity of the territory." Ing Yu nodded and smiled. "Don't worry, big brother. With the injection of this fund, the Finance Bureau can finally go all out this time. The detailed economic stimulus plan has been drawn up perfectly under the leadership of the Commerce Bureau's director, Elder Su. Previously, it was only due to the financial pressure that we didn't implement it." "That's good." Ouyang Shua nodded in relief and turned to look at Yang Yun. "I acknowledge your ability. Now, I'll hand you a heavier responsibility. Among the 3 subsidiary territories, Beihai Town is the first to start and is expected to be promoted to a second-class town soon. Therefore, I want you to head to Beihai Town personally and manage the Bank of Four Seas branch there. How about it? Are you confident?" Yang Yun replied excitedly, "Thank you for your trust, sir. I won't let you down." "Good. That's what I need." Ouyang Shua praised and said to Ing Yu, "I won't interfere with who will be stationed at the Pool Town and Friendship Town branches. You just need to keep an eye on them, Yu." "Don't worry, big brother." Ing Yu was still as straightforward as ever. In the next 10 days, the army in the headquarters reorganized and trained while going out to wipe out the roving bandits and water bandits in the territory to increase their combat experience. After a few bloody battles, the 8 platoon leaders were promoted to junior generals. At this point, all the platoon leaders in Shanghai Town were well-deserved and no longer had to wear the title of acting platoon leader. Ouyang Shua kept 1,500 gold coins for himself and handed the rest over to the Supplies Reserve Department and the Finance Department to handle. After 2 major sweeps, not a single living bandit could be seen in the 1,000 square kilometers of land in Shanghai Town. Even wild animals such as wild boars and buffaloes suffered and were slaughtered by the army. The end of this sweep meant that the spring offensive plan that was previously formulated had officially come to an end. While the army was reporting good news, the government was not to be left behind. After more than a month, the territory renewal project was finally completed. The wide bluestone roads, the rows of buildings made of bluestone bricks and red tiles, and the magnificent town square all displayed the prosperity of Shanghai Town. After the advanced shipyard's upgrade was completed, they immediately began the construction of the Mengchong fighting ship. Up until now, they had already delivered 2 Mengchong battleships to the Navy. On average, they could build 1 ship per week. A single Mengchong battleship could carry a squadron of soldiers. Hence, they needed to build at least 3 more to satisfy the needs of the Navy. Apart from that, there was also good news from the 3 subsidiary territories. Beihai Town was the first to be promoted to a second-class town, and the population limit was raised to 5,000. For this, Ouyang Shua specially spent 1,000 gold coins to purchase a blueprint of a large port and requested Beihai Town to start the construction of the Beihai port. With Beihai Town's strength, Even if they went all out, they would not be able to complete such a huge construction project without a month's time. Just like the ferry and the pier, the port was a special building. The blueprint of a small port was sold for 10 gold coins, and so on. The blueprint of a large port would cost 1,000 gold coins, which was twice the price of an advanced shipyard. Pool Town still needed half a month before it could be promoted to a second-class town. Fortunately, the construction of the Baihao Tea Garden, which was located at the top of the southern peak, had already been completed. Late March to early April was the season to pick the Baihao tea leaf. Zhao Dexian naturally would not miss it. He immediately arranged for the tea farmers to pick the leaves, and it was nearing the end. As expected, the Baihao tea leaves were recognized by the system as a specialty of the territory and could be sold through the general store. In order to promote the economic development of Pool Town, Ouyang Shua placed the Baihao Tea Garden under the jurisdiction of Pool Town, and the profits would be converted into the revenue of Pool Town. Zhao Dexian was also tactful. After the tea garden was built, he circled the few top-quality Baihao tea trees as tribute tea. They would not be sold to the public but to the Lord's mansion. As for the Friendship Town that was finally completed, all the basic buildings had been completed. Now they were focusing on digging the moat. Due to the large scale of the project, there was still some time before it could be completed. Currently, the external industries of the Friendship Town were almost zero. They needed the continuous support from the headquarters to maintain the town's operations. On the 15th of April, an urgent report came from the Wolf Mountain Mine. The Swift Wind tribe brought people to the Wolf Mountain Mine to cause destruction. They had a conflict with the Wolf Mountain Garrison Camp, and more than 40 people were killed or injured. After Ouyang Shua received the news, he was extremely furious. He swore that he would return the favor and teach these arrogant people of the Swift Wind tribe a lesson. 2:00 in the afternoon, Shanghai Town's meeting hall. Ouyang Shua summoned the military office and the 3 battalion commanders for an emergency military meeting. He looked around and said in a low voice, "I'm sure everyone knows that the Wolf Mountain Mine was attacked. This is a naked provocation to Shanghai Town. We must punish the Swift Wind tribe severely. We cannot let this go. Master, please give the order. We must destroy the Swift Wind tribe's nest this time." The hot-tempered Shi Wansui was the first to ask for battle. "That's right. Master, the city defense camp is willing to be the vanguard." Zhao Sihu didn't want to fall behind. Only Lin Yi's face was gloomy. He said unwillingly, "Master, the cavalry camp asks for battle." Ouyang Shua shook his head and said directly, "The expedition to the Swift Wind tribe this time will be through mountains and jungles. It's not suitable for cavalry to fight. The cavalry camp will stay in the headquarters this time and take over the city defense camp's guard duty. We have been suppressing bandits frequently during this period of time and have already formed blood feuds with all the roving bandits. I don't want our headquarters to be destroyed by the bandits after the expedition. General Lin, the cavalry camp has a heavy responsibility. Don't let your guard down." "Yes," Lin Yi said helplessly. Ouyang Shua didn't pay attention to Shi Wansui and Zhao Sihu, the 2 warmongers. He turned to the military office and asked, "Did the military office collect information on the Swift Wind tribe before?" Dog Sanzi, who had officially changed his name to Song San, stood up and said, "Master, ever since the Swift Wind tribe rejected our invitation to cooperate, the military office has begun to consciously collect information on them." "Very good. How about it? Tell everyone about them," Ouyang Shua said approvingly. Song San began to report. In this mountainous area between Lianzhou and Lingnan, there are a total of 95 mountain barbarian tribes of various sizes. They are divided into 2 large regions, the south and the north. The northern and southern regions are each led by a tribe of 10,000 people. The barbarians we have encountered now are all mountain barbarians at the edge of the southern region. There are a total of 40 tribes in the southern region. They are slightly weaker than the northern region and are led by the Tiango tribe. Under the Tiango tribe, there are 4 large tribes with between 10,000 and 5,000 people, 10 medium-sized tribes with between 5,000 and 3,000 people, and 25 small tribes with less than 3,000 people. Therefore, as one of the 4 large tribes in the southern region, the Swift Wind tribe is the natural overlord of this region. Naturally, they won't submit to a medium-sized tribe like the Mystic Bird tribe. The Swift Wind tribe has more than 5,400 people. Their totem is Swift and their surname is Huan. The chief of the tribe is called Huan Tai. He has just been appointed and is said to be less than 30 years old. As the tribe's main fighting force, the hunting team has 800 people. This subordinate speculates that the attack on the Wolf Mountain mine was done by the Swift Wind tribe's hunting team. Ouyang Shua expressed his satisfaction with the military office's big-picture view. The military office was able to analyze the motive of the Swift Wind tribe's attack on the Wolf Mountain mine from the overall distribution of the mountain barbarians. What is the geographical situation of the Swift Wind tribe? What about the fortifications of the village? Go Hongliang was obviously more concerned about these questions. Song San nodded. The Swift Wind tribe is located 20 kilometers east of the Mystic Bird tribe. The tribe's location is similar to a valley, surrounded by mountains on 3 sides. There is only one exit in the west. At this exit, the Swift Wind tribe has built a checkpoint. Therefore, if we want to attack the Swift Wind tribe, we must first take down the checkpoint. Go Hongliang frowned. This kind of terrain was easy to defend and hard to attack. It was really troublesome. He asked unwillingly, "How tall are the mountains on the 3 sides? Can we climb over them?" Song San shook his head. "That's impossible. Although the mountains can't be compared to our side, they are still 500 to 600 meters tall. Moreover, the mountains are covered with dense forests. It's hard to pass through, not to mention climbing over them. Since that's the case, then we can only attack them by force. As long as we take down the checkpoint, the Swift Wind tribe will be like a turtle in a jar. We will be able to trample on them." Ouyang Shua suddenly said. Go Hongliang nodded. "My lord, which tribes are you planning to send to participate in this operation?" The other generals also looked at Ouyang Shua anxiously. Ouyang Shua didn't let everyone down. He said loudly, "In this attack on the Swift Wind tribe, the infantry camp and the city defense camp will be the main force. The Wolf Mountain garrison camp will be added as support. The garrison of Pool Town and Friendship Town will not be mobilized this time. Stay at home and guard them." Sure Wan Sui and Zhao Sihu's faces were filled with excitement. Only Lin Yi, who was at the side, was extremely disappointed. Chapter 107. After confirming the troops, Ouyang Shua continued to arrange the logistics. Zhao Yufeng. Here. The mountain roads are difficult to travel. The combat division needs to transport the supplies to the Mystic Bird tribe in advance. Yes, we will complete the mission. In addition, the combat division also needs to prepare some siege weapons. The attack on the checkpoint is likely to be a tough battle. We can't be careless. Ouyang Shua continued to order. Understood. Rest assured, sir. Zhao Yufeng was full of confidence. We can't be careless with the medicine. There are many snakes and insects in the forest. We have to guard against them. The combat division needs to contact the medical center and prepare the appropriate medicine. It's best to consult the Mystic Bird tribe's great shaman. He's an expert in this area. Ouyang Shua was very detailed. Yes. After arranging the logistics, Ouyang Shua continued, Song San. Here. The Military Intelligence Department needs to quickly gather information on the Gale tribe, including the terrain along the way. This is the first time Shanghai Town is fighting in the forest, so the intelligence work must be done properly. Rest assured, sir. Leng Qian has already led the first military intelligence team into the mountains to investigate. Very good. Zhao Sihu. Here. Is the equipment for your 5 platoons ready? Reporting, sir. 2 archer platoons have been equipped due to the abundance of bows and arrows we've seized. It's just 2 crossbowmen platoons. Because crossbows are rare to begin with, and because the bow and crossbow division works through the night, we've only equipped 1 platoon. Zhao Sihu said awkwardly. Ouyang Shua shook his head and said with a frown, How can we fight without equipment? Zhao Sihu panicked. He was afraid that Ouyang Shua would leave the city defense camp behind. He quickly said, Sir, I suggest that the remaining crossbowman platoon be equipped with bows and arrows. They can still fight. Ouyang Shua glared at him and berated, Nonsense. Do you think fighting is like playing house? These soldiers have never received archery training. Even if they are equipped with bows and arrows, it's just a pile of scrap metal. Moreover, the firing cycle of the crossbow is much longer than that of the arrows. We need at least 2 platoons to form a smooth attack. Zhao Sihu immediately turned from a tiger to a cat after being glared at by Ouyang Shua. Then what should we do? Fortunately, Go Hongliang came to his rescue. He stood up and said, Sir, this subordinate has a suggestion. Please speak. According to my understanding, the 1st platoon of the cavalry battalion was originally made up of crossbow cavalry that had been transferred through the commander's seal. They were equipped with crossbows. Therefore, this subordinate suggests that we can lend the crossbow machines of the cavalry battalion's 1st squadron to the city defense battalion's crossbowman squadron. Go Hongliang said. All right, we'll do as you say. Ouyang Shua was overjoyed. After Ouyang Shua finished making the arrangements, Go Hongliang added, Sir, while the War Preparedness Division and the Military Intelligence Division are busy, the infantry camp and city defense camp cannot remain idle. I suggest that the 2 battalions should be stationed in Pool Town tomorrow morning. For the next few days, we will be training in the mountains and forests south of Pool Town. Ouyang Shua nodded and said, Division Chief Ji's suggestion is very good, but we can't forget about the Wolf Mountain garrison. How about this? The infantry battalion and the city defense battalion might as well take a step further and directly enter the Wolf Mountain mine. We can train together with the Wolf Mountain garrison so that we can familiarize ourselves with each other in advance and avoid confusion when the time comes. At the mention of the Wolf Mountain garrison, Ouyang Shua thought of something. He turned to Zhao Yufang and said, The War Preparedness Division will prepare another batch of weapons and equipment for the Wolf Mountain garrison. Yes. All right, go and prepare. Ouyang Shua said at last. Yes. 20th of April. In front of the Mystic Bird Tribe's village, the infantry battalion, city defense battalion, and Wolf Mountain garrison had assembled. For this expedition, Ouyang Shua was personally in command, while Go Hongliang was the military advisor. Soldiers, 5 days ago, the Cyclone tribe attacked our Wolf Mountain mine for no reason and injured our compatriot. This is a declaration of war against Shanghai Town and all the major tribes. Shanghai Town will not tolerate this kind of provocation. A debt of blood must be paid in blood. Ouyang Shua shouted loudly. A debt of blood must be paid in blood. A debt of blood must be paid in blood. The soldiers responded in unison. Let's go. The majestic troops began to march towards the Cyclone tribe. The infantry battalion was the vanguard, the city defense battalion in the middle, and the Wolf Mountain garrison at the back. Behind them were the supply troops, which were mainly made up of mountain barbarians from various tribes. At 4 in the afternoon, the troops arrived 3 kilometers away from the Cyclone tribe. Under Shi Wansue's guidance, the troops began to choose suitable places to set up camp. They were prepared to rest for the night and attack the next morning. In the central camp tent, Ouyang Shua summoned the 3 battalion commanders and the Military Intelligence Division to hold a pre-war military conference. Ling Qian, what's the situation with the Cyclone tribe? Did they notice our movements? Ouyang Shua first asked the Military Intelligence Division. Ling Qian stepped out and said, "Sir, everything is normal with the Cyclone tribe. There's nothing unusual." "How could this be? They attacked our Wolf Mountain mine. Could it be that they aren't worried about our retaliation at all? They didn't even take any precautions. Is there a trap?" Ouyang Shuo found it hard to believe. Ling Qian hurriedly explained, "Sir, there's something you don't know. The mountain barbarian tribes often fought with each other because of the problem of hunting areas. Such a sneak attack was nothing out of the ordinary in the eyes of the mountain barbarians. As the only large tribe in this area, the Cyclone tribe regarded itself as the overlord. They didn't like the Mystic Bird tribe this time, so it was only natural for them to teach them a lesson when the hunting team went out to hunt. In addition, because of their arrogance, the Cyclone tribe didn't accept the Great Shaman's invitation last time. Therefore, these guys know nothing about our Shanghai town and don't understand our military strength. That's why they're so at ease." The Wolf Mountain Garrison's battalion commander, Stone Wolf, added, "That's right. In such a situation, small and medium-sized tribes like us dared not say anything even though we were angry. It's precisely because of this that we're so enthusiastic to support the Cyclone tribe when you're ready to teach them a lesson." Ouyang Shuo nodded and said with a smile, "Good, it seems the heavens are on our side. Pass down the order to strengthen the vigilance at night and not underestimate the enemy. We'll strive to conquer the Mystic Bird tribe in one fell swoop tomorrow." Yes. The next morning, the troops began to cook. After breakfast, they immediately broke camp and advanced toward the Cyclone tribe. Looking at the checkpoint in front of him, Ouyang Shuo was lost in thought. The entire checkpoint was 30 meters wide and 6 meters high, completely blocking the passage to and from the valley. The checkpoint was built with large blocks of stone and looked extremely magnificent. In the middle of the checkpoint was a 4-meter-wide wooden gate for people to enter and exit. The checkpoint's design was similar to that of a city wall, with many uneven battlements for archers to shoot and hide from. Ouyang Shuo said to Go Hongliang, who was standing at the side, "How do you think we should fight this battle, Division Chief Go? It's not that we can't break through the checkpoint's defense force with the scaling ladders we brought, but the casualties will be quite high." This subordinate carefully observed the checkpoint and found that the checkpoint's gate doesn't have a more advanced suspension bridge design, but just a simple wooden gate. "Therefore, this subordinate suggests that we should focus on the gate," said Go Hongliang. Ouyang Shuo nodded in agreement and said, "You're right. We only have so many assets, so we can't squander them as we please. It's just that it won't be easy to break through the gate. Once we show up, the other party will definitely notice it immediately and increase the number of soldiers guarding the checkpoint in a short time. They'll have a high vantage point, so it'll be very difficult for us to smoothly attack the checkpoint, and we'll also suffer heavy casualties." Go Hongliang confidently said, "Don't worry, sir. According to the Intelligence Division's report, the other party's bows and arrows are the same as the other mountain barbarian tribes. They're the most primitive single wooden bows, mainly used for hunting, and their shooting range is less than 120 meters. But we're equipped with beginner compound bows, and our shooting range is close to 200 meters with light arrows, which is far beyond their shooting range. Our crossbows are even more impressive, with a shooting range of 300 meters. Therefore, we can adopt the long-range suppression tactic of the crossbows. As long as we stand 150 meters away and use our crossbows to suppress the enemy's defense force, they won't dare to show up. In this case, the infantry battalion can assault the checkpoint's gate under the tight protection of the shields and smash the gate open." "Good. This is a brilliant plan." Ouyang Shuo applauded. With the plan settled, the powerful war machine began to operate quickly. The first to take the field was the City Defense Battalion. 150 meters away from the checkpoint, the first row was the Blade and Shield Battalion. This was the battalion with the most combat experience among the infantry. All of them were veterans of hundreds of battles and were at least at the 4th rank. The Blade and Shield Battalion's mission this time was to use the shields in their hands to form a defensive wall to protect the crossbowmen behind them. The second and third row were naturally the 2 archer battalions. They came from the mountain barbarian tribes, and Zhao Sihu had chosen them to be good archers with compound bows in their hands. Their combat strength was extraordinary. The last 2 rows were the crossbowman battalions selected from the Shanhai town. Crossbows were easy to master, and ordinary people only needed 3 to 4 days of training to master them. The left wing of the City Defense Battalion was the infantry battalion in charge of this attack. 500 elite mountain barbarian soldiers, although they weren't equipped with tang sabers or infantry armor, they still couldn't be underestimated. The commander of this battalion was the bravest Shi Wansui in the Shanhai town army, and the 5 captains were also extraordinary. The right wing of the City Defense Battalion was the reserve force, the Wolf Mountain Garrison Battalion. Originally, Stone Wolf had strongly requested to be the main attacker, but Ouyang Shua considered that the Wolf Mountain Garrison Battalion hadn't experienced a real bloody battle before. If this kind of battalion participated in this kind of battle for the first time, Ouyang Shua wouldn't feel at ease. Chapter 108. When the troops of Shanhai town appeared outside the checkpoint, the guards of the Swift Wind tribe were so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Fortunately, they were well trained and immediately sounded the alarm. The urgent bell rang throughout the valley, causing a commotion. The tribesmen of the Swift Wind tribe walked out of their houses to find out what had happened. They were all terrified. When the guard ran in to report, the chief of the Swift Wind tribe, Huan Tai, had just woken up. He shouted, "Who sounded the alarm?" "Chief, a large number of troops have appeared in front of the checkpoint," the guard said in panic. "Troops? Which tribe are they from? How many of them?" Huan Tai was shocked and asked hurriedly. "The flag of the enemy doesn't belong to any tribe, and I don't know where they came from. Roughly speaking, there are at least 1,000 of them. They are well equipped, and they don't look like tribal hunting teams, but more like the Imperial Army." "Imperial Army? Oh no, it's the army of Shanhai town." Huan Tai was still somewhat knowledgeable and immediately reacted. He shouted, "Gather the hunting teams immediately and all of them will be stationed at the checkpoint to defend." "Damn it." Yes. The hunting team of the Swift Wind tribe had a total of 800 people. Usually, only 200 of them were stationed at the checkpoint at the entrance of the valley, while the remaining 600 stayed in their houses. They would only gather together when they went out to hunt. Therefore, it was not easy to gather a team quickly. Huan Tai gathered the team while comforting his tribesmen. When 400 people were gathered, Huan Tai did not want to wait any longer. He was very worried that the garrison would not be able to withstand the attack of Shanhai town. Huan Tai decided to take these 400 people to the checkpoint as reinforcements, leaving his deputy, Huanan, to wait for the rest of the hunting team. In front of the checkpoint, the Shanhai town was the first to attack. Relying on the advantage of the range, the crossbowmen of the city defense camp shot wave after wave of arrows at the checkpoint, suppressing the guards on the other side. Although they did not cause too much damage because of the protection of the battlements, the guards on the other side did not dare to show their heads. The people of the Swift Wind tribe could only watch helplessly because they were limited by the range of the wooden bows. They could not fight back, which was very uncomfortable. After suppressing the guards, Ouyang Shua ordered the infantry battalion to attack the gate of the checkpoint. The soldiers carried the thick battering rams and raised their shields over their heads as they quickly rushed towards the checkpoint. At this moment, the guards at the checkpoint finally reacted. Seeing that the enemy was about to reach the foot of the checkpoint, at this critical moment, they could no longer care about the rain of arrows from the opposite side and began to counterattack. In fact, the hunting team was not completely defenseless. After all, they had the geographical advantage. Once they discovered that the infantry battalion was attempting to approach the checkpoint, they would fearlessly launch a counterattack. None of them were afraid of death. Braving the rain of arrows, they would throw down rolling logs and stones, stubbornly repelling the infantry battalion's attack. Finally, the first group of reinforcements led by Huan Tai arrived at the checkpoint. Huan Tai's arrival quickly stabilized the army's morale. They began to organize an even more ferocious defense. Rolling logs and rocks rained down without any regard for their lives. Ouyang Shua frowned as he looked at the ever-increasing number of guards. He turned to Go Hongliang and said, "This won't do. If this stalemate continues, the city defense camp won't be able to suppress them. Pass down my order the entire infantry battalion to attack. This time, we must take down the main gate at all costs." The last sentence was directed at the messenger. "Yes." The messenger at the side immediately turned around and left. After Shi Wansui received the order, his expression turned ferocious as he said loudly, "Brothers, His Lordship has been watching our performance. As the main attacking force, it has been so long and we still haven't taken down a mere gate. This is simply a disgrace to the infantry battalion. Those bastards from the Wolf Mountain garrison camp can't sit still anymore. They've asked His Lordship for permission, saying that they want to replace us as the main attacking force. Can you bear this humiliation?" "We can't." The soldiers roared loudly. "If we can't bear it, then what should we do?" Shi Wansui's voice resounded through the entire battalion. "Take down the main gate and defend our honor." The crowd was in high spirits. "Good, this is the determination we need. Listen to my order, the entire infantry battalion will attack. If we can't take down the main gate this time, then don't live to see His Lordship again. I, Shi Wansui, can't afford to lose this face." Shi Wansui roared, "Attack!" Shi Wansui personally took the lead, completely arousing the soldiers' courage. The soldiers of the infantry battalion carried thick battering logs and raised their shields over their heads, forming a dense defense line. Braving the falling logs and the rain of arrows, they fearlessly rushed to the foot of the checkpoint. Half an hour later, under the relentless assault of the infantry battalion, the main gate of the checkpoint was finally taken down. Ouyang Shua decisively ordered the Wolf Mountain garrison camp on the right flank to charge into the valley together. The city defense camp at the back continued to suppress the enemy, advancing slowly. With the main gate broken, the entire checkpoint was immediately in danger of being lost. The soldiers of the infantry battalion gathered their courage and roared as they rushed up the checkpoint, determined to start a bloody battle with the Swift Wind tribe's hunting team. The Wolf Mountain garrison camp that followed up took over the task of defending the main gate. They just happened to fight with the Swift Wind tribe's hunting team that had rushed over as reinforcements. As the saying goes, when enemies meet, their eyes turn especially red. Stone Wolf roared loudly, "Kill them!" As he spoke, he was the first to rush up and engage in close combat with the hunting team. The 500 people of the Wolf Mountain garrison camp faced the 200 people of the hunting team led by Huanan. In addition, the Wolf Mountain garrison camp had an advantage in equipment, so the situation was quickly controlled by the Wolf Mountain garrison camp. Seeing that they could not resist, Huanan had no choice but to lead his troops to surrender. On the checkpoint, the Swift Wind tribe was constantly losing ground under the fierce attack of the infantry battalion. These hunting teams that usually only knew how to hunt were no match for the regular army. While leading his troops to resist, Huan Tai shouted loudly, "Are you the troops of Shanghai Town? Why are you attacking us for no reason?" Shi Wansui grinned and stabbed an enemy to death with his spear. He roared, "Haha, what a joke! You attacked our Wolf Mountain mine and still dare to act as if nothing happened. Today I will destroy your tribe." At this time, Ouyang Shua just climbed up the checkpoint and heard their conversation. He said loudly, "Huan Tai, order your people to put down their weapons and surrender. I can spare your lives." "Humph, there is no coward in our Swift Wind tribe. We would rather die than surrender," Huan Tai said stubbornly. "Really? Fine, you can pretend to be a hero, but I want to see how those old, weak women and children in the valley can pretend to be heroes." Ouyang Shua said mockingly. Hearing Ouyang Shua's words, the hunting team behind Huan Tai suddenly became restless. They thought that their families were still in the valley. If they died in battle, then their families would become lambs waiting to be slaughtered. You are shameless." Seeing that Ouyang Shua easily dispelled the hunting team's will to resist, Huan Tai said angrily. "A wise man submits to circumstances. Huan Tai, I don't want to say it again. Give up resistance and I will spare your lives. Otherwise, don't blame me for not showing mercy." Ouyang Shua said coldly. "Ai." Huan Tai sighed and put down his weapon helplessly. After disarming the hunting team, Ouyang Shua ordered the infantry battalion to guard the captives. At the same time, he ordered the Wolf Mountain garrison to enter the valley and gather the people of the Swift Wind tribe together. In the meeting hall of the Swift Wind tribe, "Chief Gu, how are the casualties of the army?" Ouyang Shua asked with concern. "In reply to your excellency, a total of 20 people died in battle, 35 were seriously injured, and 60 were lightly injured." Ouyang Shua's face was solemn as he said, "The casualties are still quite high. The military office needs to properly deal with the aftermath of the fallen soldiers, and properly arrange for the seriously injured soldiers' jobs and living security after they retire. At the same time, we need to timely replenish the soldiers. In my opinion, the military office can now start to consider the issue of the reserves." "Understood. This time, we didn't get any benefits from attacking the Swift Wind tribe. They are all so poor that they are no different from the refugees in the wilderness. What a great loss," Ouyang Shua said with regret. "At least, we have established our prestige in this area. In my opinion, when the news of us attacking the Swift Wind tribe spreads, the surrounding small and medium-sized tribes will take the initiative to cooperate with us." Go Hongyang said comfortingly. "Then we can only understand it this way. Your Excellency, how do you plan to deal with the Swift Wind tribe?" Go Hongyang asked. "Escort them all back to the territory. Take those that can be taken away and leave the rest here," Ouyang Shua said helplessly. He didn't have a better solution. It was impossible to let them go after such a huge sacrifice. It was better to escort them back to replenish the population of the territory. Seeing Go Hongyang's troubled expression, Ouyang Shua said with a smile, "If you have something to say, just say it." "Yes. This subordinate has just observed this valley. This valley covers an extremely large area, and the Swift Wind tribe only occupies a very small area. The valley is lush with water and grass, and even better, there is a lake that is very suitable for grazing. Therefore, what I mean is that we can completely transform this valley into a horse farm. You also know that Friendship Town is still in the process of constructing its infrastructure. Even if the construction is completed, it is still very risky to build a horse farm outside the city, and we will face the threat of nomadic tribes at any time. On the contrary, it is not as good as this place, where there are few people. As long as we arrange a platoon to guard the checkpoint, we can rest easy," Go Hongyang said. Ouyang Shua nodded and said, "What you say makes sense. However, this place is far from the main camp, and the mountain roads are difficult to traverse. There will be many difficulties. Your Excellency, as long as we can successfully build a military horse farm, it will be worth it to expend some manpower and resources to repair the road from the Blackbird tribe to the valley." Go Hongyang continued to persuade. "All right, we'll do as you say." Ouyang Shua finally made up his mind and said, "The military office should properly communicate with the chariot office and prepare for the early stages. After we return this time, it is also time to consider the matter of contacting the nomadic tribes. It is not a good idea to continue dragging this out." "Understood." Chapter 109. On the 23rd of April, the army returned to Shanghai town with nearly 5,000 captive. When they evacuated from the valley of the Swift Wind tribe, there was a small incident. When the great shaman of the Swift Wind tribe learned that their tribe had been conquered, he did not want to be captured and committed suicide by poison in the ancestral temple. Hearing the news of the great shaman's suicide, the Swift Wind tribe was in an uproar again. It looked like the mountain barbarians were going to rise up again. In order to appease these mountain barbarians, and at the same time considering the impact on the surrounding mountain barbarian tribes, Ouyang Shuo specially stayed in the valley for another day to hold the great shaman's funeral. This action, to a large extent, removed the hatred that the ordinary mountain barbarians of the Swift Wind tribe had for Shanhai Town. Just as Go Hongliang had expected, after learning that the Swift Wind tribe had been conquered by the army from Shanhai Town within a day, the surrounding 2 medium-sized tribes and 6 small tribes immediately sent people to contact the great sorcerer of the Mystic Bird tribe, hoping that he would mediate and express their goodwill. Imperceptibly, the Mystic Bird tribe replaced the Swift Wind tribe and became the decision-maker in this area. This made the tribe leader Shi Xiong extremely pleased. He admired the great shaman's decision at that time. Seeing that Shi Xiong was getting carried away, the Grand Wizard had no choice but to come forward and remind him that the Mystic Bird tribe's current status was all because of the Shanhai Town's support. He must not get carried away and neglect the other tribes, which would affect the Shanhai Town's plans. With the Grand Warlock's reminder, Shi Xiong came to his senses. In order to express their gratitude to Shanhai Town, they sent 2 pairs of hummingbirds to show their respect. Ouyang Shuo was extremely satisfied with Shi Xiong's tactfulness. These hummingbirds were all given to the Military Intelligence Department by Ouyang Shuo. He also told Song San that if possible, it would be best to learn the secret method of breeding hummingbirds from the Mystic Bird tribe and further expand the number of hummingbird. These little things were secret weapons for collecting and transmitting intelligence. If used properly, they could rival a battalion. After returning to Shanhai Town, the surviving 600 members of the hunting squad were all disarmed and sent to serve in the iron mine for 2 years. After the end of his service, he would regain his status as a free citizen of Shanhai Town. In this way, the number of miners in the iron mine reached 1,000, and it was upgraded to a high-level iron mine. As the armor workshop and bow and crossbow division gradually got on the right track, the demand for iron ore increased. This batch of captives could be put to good use. These members of the hunting squad had their hands stained with the blood of the Mountain Sea Town's soldiers. Naturally, Ouyang Shuo wouldn't let them off so easily. Sending them to the iron mine was precisely to wear down their hostility and physical strength. He had specifically told the head of the iron mine that the conscripts only needed to have 3 meals a day to ensure that they had enough to eat. Of course, the most basic human rights were still required. They could not beat or scold them at will, otherwise they would not be forgiven. Previously, Go Hongliang had even suggested to select a portion of these 600 people to replenish the infantry and city defense battalions, but it was rejected by Ouyang Shuo. In any case, with those new tribes expressing their goodwill, there was no need to worry about not having good quality infantry soldiers. There was no need to use these unstable elements. The remaining 4,000 people were arranged by Ouyang Shuo to go to the Northern Twilight Saltworks to begin the final phase of construction. After the completion, the Northern Twilight Salt Field will reach a saturated area of 10,000 mu. The sudden influx of 4,000 people directly pushed North Sea Town to the scale of a Level 3 town. After the basic construction was completed, it could immediately be promoted. Ouyang Shuo had also considered whether he should leave these 4,000 people in the Shanhai Town's base camp and use this to achieve the full population of 10,000 people. However, it was not a simple matter to promote to a Level 1 county. Firstly, the political, economic, cultural, and military index had to reach at least 45 points, and Shanhai Town already met the requirement. More importantly, The feudal lord needed to apply to the system in advance to promote to a level 1 county. After the basic conditions were met, the system would arrange for a large scale of bandits to attack the player's territory 3 days later. Only by successfully defending the territory would they be able to successfully promote. This kind of application was not unlimited. If they failed, they could only apply again after half a month. If they failed 3 times in a row, then the territory would permanently lose the right to be promoted. Thus, Ouyang Shuo would not act rashly before making sufficient preparations. After returning to the territory, Ouyang Shuo immediately summoned the construction division and the carriage office to make arrangements for the construction of the military horse farm in the valley. In addition to being responsible for repairing the road from the Blackbird tribe to Gale Valley, the construction division also had to modify the existing buildings in the valley according to the carriage office's requirement. Some buildings that could not be used were resolutely demolished. In addition, the checkpoint also had to be redesigned with a suspension bridge to increase its defensive capabilities. Ouyang Shuo told Zhao Duong to use as much of the mountain barbarians' labor force as possible. The mountain barbarians were absolutely willing as long as they were paid with food. Ouyang Shuo believed that after tasting the sweetness, the tribes would gradually eliminate their resistance towards Shanghai town and work with the town wholeheartedly. After resting for 3 days, Ouyang Shuo began to make adjustments to the camp. The City Defense Division occupied the high-class camp in the city and officially took over the responsibility of defending the city. The Construction Division built another high-class camp 20 miles west of the city and handed it over to the infantry camp. It was called the West Camp. The West Camp was located between the border of the territory and the headquarters, in charge of the security of the territory in the west. The west was where the main industries outside of the city were concentrated. Most of the mines, factories, and settlements were concentrated there. As for the cavalry camp, they were officially transferred to Friendship Town. Friendship Town built a high-class camp 10 miles north of the city for the cavalry camp. It was called the North Camp. The North Camp was like a nail pierced deep into the grasslands at the center of the valley, in charge of monitoring the nomadic tribes' every move. The day before the cavalry camp left, Ouyang Shuo called Lin Yi to his office and the two talked the whole afternoon. Other than Go Hongliang, who was present at the time, no one else knew the specifics of the conversation. On the eve of Labor Day, several happy events happened in Shanghai town. Through the recruitment center, Ouyang Shuo recruited a high-class Taoist. His name was Guyen, 42 years old, and he looked like a sage. It was said that he was the descendant of Gu Hong from Eastern Jin. Not only was the man proficient in Taoist scriptures, but he was also a refiner and a master of medicine. He did have some of the elegance of celestial master Gu Hong. Gu Daozhang didn't choose to build a temple in the city. Instead, he used 3 to 4 days to walk around the territory. In the end, he chose a small hill 10 miles west of the city. The scenery there was beautiful, and it was a rare place. Feng Shui was mysterious, and Gu Daozhang was a master himself. There was a reason why he chose a place like this, and Ouyang Shuo didn't mind. The temple was a cultural building, and it helped raise the territory's culture index. As a result, Ouyang Shuo didn't take a single cent from the construction division and told them to build it according to Gu Daozhang's requirements. After the temple was built, with Gu Daozhang's help, the territory's culture index was directly raised by 5 points. After the temple was built, Gu Daozhang named it Qingyang Temple. He recruited 2 servants in the city, selected 4 orphans, and took them in as Taoist children. Then, he left leisurely. The other 2 buildings in the third-grade town, the pawn shop and the inn, had been built long ago. With the current situation in Shanghai town, with the low-interest loans provided by the Bank of the Four Seas, the pawn shop was basically a decoration. Moreover, the residents of Shanghai town were basically refugees. They didn't have anything valuable that could be pawned in the pawn shop. Helplessly, the finance department arranged for a shopkeeper to temporarily take over the pawnshop. It was the same for the inn. Shanghai town was still a closed territory. No outsiders came to the town, and naturally, there were no guests staying in the inn. It was an overestimation to say that it was deserted. Therefore, no one was willing to take over the inn. Helplessly, the finance department could only temporarily manage it. To Ouyang Shua's surprise, the jewelry shop didn't open after it was built. After learning about the situation, Ouyang Shua specially went to find out the reason. When the truth was revealed, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It turned out that the territory didn't lack goldsmiths and silversmiths. The problem was that these craftsmen had skills, but they didn't have such a strong capital. In ancient times, metal jewelry was generally divided into three materials: gold, silver, and copper. All of these required high-purity gold, silver, and copper. Shanghai town had just solved the problem of food and clothing, so no one had the ability to do so. After learning about the situation, Ouyang Shua immediately decided that the Lord's mansion would take over the jewelry shop, and the profits would be used for the Lord's mansion's daily expenses. Ouyang Shua immediately put in 100 gold coins. Through the magical function of the storage bag, they turned into pieces of high-purity gold, silver, and copper ingot. Because the jewelry shop belonged to the Lord's mansion, Ouyang Shua specially selected a shopkeeper to be in charge of the jewelry shop. With Ying Yu's recommendation, he chose Ying Yu's maid, Si Qin, to be in charge of this matter. Si Qin had been by Ying Yu's side for a period of time. Under her influence, she also learned a lot about business. Ouyang Shua was relieved to let her take care of the jewelry shop. Another good news was about the colorful silkworms. After nearly 2 months of cultivation, the colorful silkworm breeding was finally on the right track. As Ouyang Shua expected, the first piece of silk made from the colorful silk was certified as the territory's specialty by the system and could be sold through the general store. In this way, Shanghai town suddenly had 3 territorial specialties: 3-flower wine, white ginseng tea, and the colorful silk. As the saying goes, the rarer something is, the greater its value. A piece of colorful silk was sold for an astonishing 10 gold coins. It became the 3rd golden chicken in Shanghai town that could lay eggs. After Ouyang Shua received the news, he immediately decided to expand the scale of the colorful silkworm breeding. The finance department directly provided a low-interest loan of 200 gold coins to upgrade the entire textile industry chain. In this process, the Textile Association gradually began to play its role. Chapter 110. On the 30th of April, it was time to sell sea salt again. The Northern Sunset Salt Works earned 3,600 gold coins a month. The Wolf Mountain Mine, another pillar of the territory, earned 8,500 gold coins a month because the number of miners increased to 5,000 in April, far surpassing the Northern Sunset Salt Works and becoming the territory's primary industry. In addition to the remaining 900 gold coins, Ouyang Shua had 13,000 gold coins in cash. This amount of money seemed huge, but after deducting the daily expenses, it wasn't that much that could be used. Ouyang Shua directly allocated 5,000 gold coins to the finance department for the territory's financial expenses. First was the military expenses. With the expansion of the army, the military expenses increased rapidly. Just the monthly salary alone was a huge expense. Since the territory's economy became prosperous, Ouyang Shua's soldiers' monthly allowance was increased tenfold. A rank 1 soldier could receive 10 silver coins a month, and so on. A rank 9 soldier could receive 90 silver coins a month. A squad leader received 1 gold coin a month, a platoon leader received 5 gold coins a month, and a battalion commander received 20 gold coins a month. Taking the cavalry battalion as an example, the average rank of a soldier was rank 4, and the salary of an ordinary soldier was 180 gold coins a month. With the addition of 50 squad leaders, 5 platoon leaders, and a battalion commander. The cavalry battalion's salary was 275 gold coins a month. The 4 regular battalions' salary was 1,100 gold coins a month. In addition to the consumption of provisions, weapons, and equipment, the military expenditure was close to 1,400 gold coins a month. Second was the government's expenses. With the replenishment of the government staff, the government's expenses were also considerable. The government staff received 1 gold coin a month, the division chief received 10 gold coins a month, and the division chief received 25 gold coins a month. In addition to the office supplies and other expenses, the government's expenses were close to 500 gold coins a month. Then there was the public financial expenses. Due to the need to raise funds for the system auction, the construction department hadn't paid the workers for the 4 major infrastructure projects, which were the City Wall and Moat Project, the Territory Project, the Friendship Town Project, and the Road Project. On average, a craftsman's salary was 100 copper coins a day, and the labor expenses of the 4 major infrastructure projects alone amounted to 1,000 gold coins. Of course, the project expenses were one-time expenses, and not every month. Apart from that, there were also lumberyards, quarries and mines, military industries such as the armor workshop, bow and crossbow workshop, and military industries such as the archery workshop, as well as brick kilns, pottery factories, shipyards, pastures, and other industries that belonged to the territory. With the rapid expansion of the scale, the monthly wage expenditure had already reached more than 1,500 gold coins. This was especially so for a military industry like the Jiao workshop. The people they recruited were all precious and skilled people. They could not afford to pay them too low. Apprentices received 30 silver coins per month, beginner skilled talents received 1 gold coin per month, intermediate skilled talents received 5 gold coins per month, and advanced skilled talents received 10 gold coins per month. Finally, there was another big item, and that was basic welfare expenses. The basic benefits included 100 units of food coupons, 20 units of meat coupons, a piece of fur, a set of ordinary linen clothes, and a voucher worth 20 silver coins, which was around 32 silver coins. Even though a large portion of the funds came out of the treasury's left hand and came in with the right, each refugee still cost around 15 silver coins. The base spawned 75 refugees every day, which was 1,125 silver coins. That was around 340 gold coins per month. With the addition of the 3 subsidiary territories, it would be an investment of over 1,000 gold coins per month. These were only the 5 main expenses. This did not include education, public health, and other financial expenses. In April, the Treasury's revenue was less than 1,000 gold coins. If not for the support of the North Twilight Salt Works and the Wolf Mountain Mine, the Treasury would have collapsed long ago. Since the privatization was implemented in February, these financial expenses had been vague. Not to mention February, when the privatization had just started. At that time, the scale of the privatization wasn't as large as it was now. In March, the financial crisis was slowly becoming apparent. However, in order to raise funds for the auction, Ouyang Shuo had been suppressing this matter. In April, the territory's financial situation started to improve, and there weren't any large additional expenses. Only then did Ouyang Shuo start to gradually formalize these expenses. At the same time, he made up for the arrears of the previous 2 months. It could be said that the privatization of Shanghai Town would only be completed in April. In the first 2 months, there were many traces of the planned economy. Without the support of the Wolf Mountain Mine, Ouyang Shuo wouldn't have the confidence to push this matter forward with just the North Twilight Salt Works. Now, the salary level of the various personnel in Shanghai Town was relatively close to the salary level of the royal city. What was a foundation? This was a foundation. While the other territories were still eating from the same pot, Shanghai Town had already begun to implement the privatization strategy. When more than 80% of the territory could only afford to eat, the income of the residents of Shanghai town was already on par with that of the royal city. Of course, Ouyang Shua didn't do this just to hide wealth from the people. His deeper purpose was to use the huge advantages of Shanghai town in the early stage to increase the income of the residents and the consumption level of the territory. This would stimulate the rapid development of the territory's economy. Only when everyone had spare money would they be willing to buy meat to eat, new clothes to wear, go to restaurants to eat, and buy jewelry for the women at home. All of these complemented each other. The huge investment today was for a greater return tomorrow. Only by making the cake bigger could he really raise the territory's tax revenue. Ouyang Shua's ultimate goal was to rely on the territory's tax revenue to support a huge financial expenditure and support a huge army in the future, even without the North Twilight Salt Works and the Wolf Mountain Mine. In any case, no matter how good a golden hen was, there would be a day when it would dry up. The Wolf Mountain Mine would be emptied one day, and the income of the North Twilight Salt Works would become insignificant in the future. People who didn't think far ahead would have immediate worries. Ouyang Shua didn't want to be a short-sighted lord who only knew how to lie on a mountain of gold and count money. After deducting the money that he had transferred to the finance bureau, Ouyang Shua still had 0 gold coins in his hands, which was still a huge sum. Of course, he wasn't going to let this money sit idle. Ouyang Shua rushed to the intermediate market and spent 200 gold coins to buy an advanced market-building blueprint. He was going to upgrade the market to the advanced level and open the cooperation platform. Only by opening this cooperation platform could Shanghai town trade weapons and equipment with White Birch and other allies. Next, Ouyang Shua clicked on the special item column and searched for secret manuals. Other than the 3,000 gold coins he kept as a reserve, he planned to use the remaining 4 gold coins to stock up on authentic secret manuals. There were countless secret manuals below King grade on the market. Regardless of whether they were real or fake, a bronze grade secret manual cost 50 silver coins, a black iron grade secret manual cost 2 gold coins, a silver grade secret manual cost 10 gold coins, and a gold grade secret manual cost 50 gold coins. The Yu Maiden swordsmanship that Ouyang Shua had given Song Jia was an authentic gold secret manual. As for secret manuals that were gold and above, they were very rare. King-level secret manuals would occasionally appear, but Emperor-level secret manuals were basically non-existent. As for God-level and Saint-level secret manuals, they couldn't be bought through the market. Ouyang Shua was hoarding authentic secret manuals, so he was naturally going for the premium route. Therefore, he only paid attention to gold-level secret manuals. To his surprise, when he was looking for authentic gold-level secret manuals, he was lucky enough to find an Emperor-level spear technique secret manual, the Yang family spear technique, which was priced at 1,000 gold coins. Ouyang Shua bought it without hesitation and checked the secret manual's attribute. Name: Yang family spear scripture, Emperor-level technique. Routine: Big Drunken Spear / Flower War Spear / 17 War Spear / Army War Spear / Pear Blossom 8 Mother Spear / Chin War Spear / Little Drunken Spear. Moves: White Snake Spitting Tongue / Swallow Snatching Nest / Flood Dragon Emerging from Water / Azure Dragon Landing / Black Dragon Swinging its Tail / Carp Escaping from Hook / Yiksha Exploring the Sea / Evil Tiger Pouncing on Deer / Little Boy Embracing Heart / Flame Piercing Cloud / Black Dragon Entering Hole / Evil Wolf Ripping Heart / Iron Ox Plowing Field etc. Ultimate Move: Throat-locking spear / back thrust weapon. Yang family pear blossom spear. Evaluation: Yang family spear, full name Yang family pear blossom spear. It is said to be a spear technique created by Yang Miaozhen, the wife of Li Quan, the leader of the Red Coat Army in the late Southern Song dynasty. The Yang family's spear techniques were renowned in the world. The front hand was straight and the backhand was hard. Go like an arrow, return like a thread, quick hands and quick eyes. He brandished his spear, dazzling everyone's eyes. The throat-locking spear was unstoppable. A sudden thrust was hard to guard against. The strange mantis flips over, the pear blossoms cover the top, the oolong overturns the river on the beach. The embroidered girl shuttles back and forth to the sun and moon, the golden gate opens and the stone opens to snatch Zhongwan. If you want to know the name and surname of this spear, the 7 suns and 8 tigers guard the border. The Yang family's spear technique was considered the #1 spear technique in the martial arts world. Because it swayed like a pear blossom when it was brandished, it was also called the pear blossom spear. In the Ming dynasty, Qi Jiguang pointed out in the Ji Xiao Nu book that the Yang family's spear technique was unpredictable and infinitely divine. After obtaining this secret manual, Ouyang Shuo finally had a spear technique secret manual that he would specialize in. Emperor-level secret manuals were extremely rare. In his previous life, there were only a few god-level secret manuals. As for saint-level secret manuals, they were even more of a legend. No one had ever seen them. It was not an easy task to master a genuine emperor-level secret manual. The ancient people who practiced spear techniques had to start from a young age. After years of hardship and guidance from a famous teacher, they were able to master it. Players were just using the virtual network technology to get by. If Ouyang Shuo hadn't practiced the great spear stance for nearly 4 months, he probably wouldn't even be able to get started. Apart from the Yang family spear technique, which was the only emperor-level secret manual, Ouyang Shuo hadn't encountered any other satisfactory genuine secret manuals. He hadn't even found a king-level secret manual. Ouyang Shuo had no choice but to use his remaining 3 gold coins to buy 76 genuine gold-level secret manuals. He had almost wiped out all the genuine secret manuals on the market. Chapter 111. The Labor Day holiday was around the corner, and Ouyang Shuo started thinking about how to arrange the holiday. Should he take Binger out for a few days? After much consideration, Ouyang Shuo decided not to log into the game during the holiday and focus on traveling with Binger. Ouyang Shuo naturally had his own considerations when he made such a decision. First, Shanghai town's development had entered a period of adjustment. Politics, economy, culture, and military needed time to settle, and there wouldn't be any big movements for the time being. Even if he wasn't there, there would be Fan Zhongyan, Shi Wansui, and a bunch of other officials in charge, and there wouldn't be any trouble. Second, in reality, there was only half a year left before they had to say goodbye to Earth. Humans had feelings. As a native Earthling, as long as he thought of the beautiful mountains and rivers of his motherland, he would never be able to see them again. He would only be able to see them in his dreams. It was difficult for people who didn't know the truth to understand such feelings. Thus, Ouyang Shuo decided to take advantage of this holiday to say goodbye. After making up his mind, Ouyang Shuo started preparing for the trip. In the meeting room of the Lord's residence, Ouyang Shuo gathered the 4 directors and 4 battalion commanders for a meeting. He looked around. I called everyone here to announce a piece of news. Good news or bad news? Yu joked. Neither, Ouyang Shuo shook his head. From tomorrow onwards, I will be going into seclusion for 5 days. I'll leave Shanghai town in your hands while I'm not here. It wasn't strange that the NPCs saw a player not being online for a long period of time. As for what to do and whether to eat or not, the players didn't have to worry about it. The omnipotent system god would give the NPCs a reasonable explanation. Before I go into seclusion, there are some things I need to tell you, Ouyang Shuo smiled. Please give us your orders, master. First, the military office and the cavalry division. You can try to contact the nomadic tribes on your own while I'm not here. My suggestion is to suppress the small tribes on the east and west side. As for the medium-sized tribes in the middle, work with them first. If possible, get a batch of excellent buckskin horses and raise them in Gale Valley. Ouyang Shuo looked at Go Hongliang and Lin Yi. Don't worry, sir. The military office's focus in the near future will be the construction of the Storm Valley Military Horse Farm. As for how to obtain the Green Beetle horse stallion, the military office already had a preliminary idea. As for the specifics, we still need the Military Intelligence Division to investigate further, as well as the cavalry battalion's follow-up actions, Go Hongliang replied. Ouyang Shuo nodded and said, "All right, then I'll wait and see." He turned his head to look at Pei Donglai, who had rushed over from North Sea Town, and said, "General Pei, the Mengchong battleships have been completed over at the Navy camp. We can begin to head out to sea. You have to explore the surrounding sea area and see if there are any islands or such." In addition, he could not let his guard down against the pirate. "Although it's still calm, I don't believe that there aren't any pirates in this region." "Yes, don't worry, my lord." This general also wanted to take the sons of the Navy camp for a spin in the sea, letting them see the world and feel the storms on the sea. This group of boys had never been to the sea before. This was unacceptable. "As for the pirates, I will keep an eye on it," Pei Donglai said as he stood up. "All right. With General Pei's guarantee, I can rest assured." Ouyang Shuo looked at Zhao Sihu and said, "Zhao Jianjun, I only have one request for the city defense camp, and that is to strengthen the city's defensive combat training. Our soldiers are used to fighting in the open or attacking fortifications, but they don't have the slightest bit of experience in defending a city. This won't do. Don't be fooled by the singing and dancing outside. Those bandits and whatnot don't look that strong and can't even withstand a single blow. That's because they haven't gathered together. Once they do, they won't be easy to deal with. Therefore, as the garrison of the main camp, we must strengthen the city defense training. We must let the soldiers familiarize themselves with the various city wall facilities, so that they know what to do and are proficient in operating them. Don't make last-minute efforts." Zhao Sihu stood up, saluted, and said solemnly, "As you command." "Please rest assured, my lord. This general will strengthen the training and resolutely defend the safety of the main camp." Ouyang Shuo nodded and looked at Shi Wansui, saying, "General Shi, I trust you and the infantry battalion, so I won't make any special instructions. I only hope that our Shanghai town's heavy infantry battalion can take shape as soon as possible. In addition, you will be the leader of the military when I'm not here. You must coordinate and handle any troublesome issues properly." "Yes, my lord, please rest assured," Shi Wansui said loudly. After arranging the military affairs, Ouyang Shuo left the four directors alone and said, "Mr. Sven will be the leader of the civil officials when I'm not here. The directors can discuss and solve any troublesome issues." "Yes. As for the Finance Bureau, with the increase in expenditure, it will also be a problem to carry out effective supervision and ensure that the funds are used properly. I hope that the Finance Bureau can come up with a preliminary opinion during this period and make a decision after I return." Ouyang Shuo said to Yingyu. Yingyu nodded and said, "Rest assured, big brother. Director Su also mentioned this issue to me before." With Big Brother's reminder, it's indeed a critical time. When Big Brother returns, the Finance Bureau will give us a preliminary opinion. "That's good." Ouyang Shuo looked at Tian Wenjing and said, "I feel very assured with Director Tian overseeing the Supplies Bureau. However, the negotiations with the mountain barbarian tribes cannot be stopped. Those mountain barbarian tribes that have the intention of cooperating can be provided with some food to lower their guard against us." "My lord, please rest assured." Ouyang Shuo nodded and looked at Gu Hongliang. As for the military bureau, apart from the construction of the Storm Valley Military Horse Farm, there are two other things that need to be done quickly. First, the intelligence investigation of the surrounding bandits must not be stopped. Instead, it must be strengthened. Second, the training of skilled personnel in the armor and crossbow departments must be continued. The military industry in the future will be extremely large. The more skilled personnel, the better. Understood. Ouyang Shu looked at Fan Zhongyan and said, "Sir, it's been hard on you during this period. Don't worry, my lord. I won't let you down. If that's the case, I can rest assured," Ouyang Shu said in the end. Hearing that Ouyang Shu was going on a trip, Xiaoya clamored to join in. With Bing adding fuel to the fire, Ouyang Shu could only obediently surrender. As for where to go to play, the three of them had a disagreement again. Xiaoya wanted to go to Lijiang in Yunnan to tour the magnificent scenery. Bing wanted to go to Demonic City to see her aunt. Ouyang Shu immediately saw through the little girl's thoughts. She didn't want to see her aunt. She was clearly eyeing Disneyland in Demonic City. As for Ouyang Shu himself, he wanted to make a trip to Mount Tai. Mount Tai was the symbol of the Chinese nation. It was the epitome of the splendid Eastern culture, the place where the idea of the unity of man and nature was placed, and the home of the Chinese spirit. As such, he naturally wanted to visit Mount Tai before leaving Earth. Such a place was the first choice for his farewell trip to Earth. Fortunately, modern technology was highly developed, and the transportation system couldn't be compared to 200 years ago. For such a long-distance trip, the most suitable means of transportation wasn't an airplane but an air train. Riding the air train not only had the speed of an airplane, but it was also flying at a low altitude, and one could enjoy the scenery along the way. Because there was enough time, a full 5 days. In the end, Ouyang Shu decided to follow the route of Jiaozhou Demonic City, Mount Tai, Lijiang Jiaozhou to take a quick trip across the country. Ever since Ouyang Shu had a showdown with his aunt, the two of them had occasionally contacted each other, and their relationship had eased up quite a bit. When his aunt found out that Ouyang Shu and his sister had come to Demonic City for sightseeing, she purposely took 2 days to bring them around. Of course, the main point of the tour was Disneyland, which was Bing-er's favorite. Finally, the little girl's fairy tale dream was fulfilled. After leaving Demonic City, Ouyang Shu and his sister took the air train again and went straight to Mount Tai. Mount Tai was famous for its magnificent scenery. The overlapping mountains, the heavy shape, the green pines and huge rocks set off the scenery, and the changes in the clouds made it majestic and beautiful at the same time. The natural Mount Tai showed the magic of nature. The cultural Mount Tai proved the holiness of culture. Feeling the majesty of Mount Tai, Ouyang Shu's soul seemed to have been baptized. In order to watch the sunrise, Ouyang Shu made up his mind and directly brought the two beauties to stay in a high-end hotel at the top of Mount Tai. In the early morning, Ouyang Shu and Bing-er watched the sunrise together. The little girl was woken up early by her brother. She seemed extremely unwilling and confused, which made her look extremely cute. In the misty morning, standing on the top of Mount Tai, looking at the misty sea of clouds, there was a colorful halo that was blue on the inside and red on the outside. The halo reflected the whole person or head in it, like a colorful halo above the head of a Buddha statue. It was extremely shocking. Seeing such a beautiful scenery, Bing-er was no longer confused. Her little mouth opened wide and she said crisply, "Ah, what a beautiful sun. It's red like a big apple." In the end, the little girl still couldn't get rid of her little foodie nature. Even when looking at the red sun, she could associate it with apples. After leaving Mount Tai, Ouyang Shu deliberately took a detour to Xiufu, the hometown of Confucius. Among the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, 4 of them had left traces of their activities in Xiufu and created a developed ancient civilization. Xiufu was also the capital of the state of Lu, the hometown of Confucius, and was known as the Holy City of the East. After leaving Xiufu, they came to their last stop, Lijiang, Yunnan. Lijiang's beautiful scenery was indeed incomparable to the wilderness in the game. Chapter 112. Gaia First Year, May 5th, Ouyang Shu came online again. After going out to play, Ouyang Shu felt that his spirit was boosted. His nerves, which had been tense since his rebirth, could finally relax completely. After going online, Ouyang Shua first learned the Yang family's spear scripture. System notification. Congratulations to player, not saying you have clothes for obtaining the Emperor level technique Yang family's spear scripture. Do you want to learn it? Learn it. With a whoosh, the secret manual in his hand turned into a white light and shot into Ouyang Shua's forehead. Instantly, all the information regarding the Yang family's spear scripture surged into his mind, waiting for him to slowly digest it. As a secret manual of a higher level than the 8 extremities fist scripture, the Yang family's spear scripture was much more difficult to learn. With no one to guide him, he still needed a period of practice to get started. Ouyang Shua raised the fine iron spear in his hand and tried to practice the moves according to the secret manual. It was indeed very jerky. It seemed that he had to seek guidance from the 2 spear masters, Shi Wansui and Lin Yi. In his previous life, the halberd he used was very different from the spear he used in this life, so there wasn't much experience he could use as a reference. Ouyang Shua's appearance immediately startled Ying Yu and Qing in the backyard. "Big brother, you're finally back." Qing stood in the corridor and said happily. At this moment, Ouyang Shua was practicing his spear techniques and didn't have time to care about her. Only when he finished practicing according to the routine did he stop and said with a smile, "Yeah, were you naughty while I wasn't around?" "Humph, big brother, don't look down on me. How was I naughty?" "If you don't believe me, ask Sister Yingyu," Qing said with a face of displeasure. Yingyu stood to the side and said with a smile, "Big brother, after you left, the entire Lord's mansion felt a lot more deserted. Everyone says that it's because they don't have you as their backbone." "Yeah, no one wants to quarrel with him," Qing chimed in. Ouyang Shua shook his head and said, "You 2 girls, don't flatter me. How is it? Is everything going smoothly in the territory?" The last question was directed at Yingyu. "Yes, everything is going according to the arrangements Big Brother made before you left," Yingyu said vaguely. Ouyang Shua also knew that the backyard wasn't a place to talk about work, so he was just casually asking. He let the sisters go about their own business while he continued to practice the Yang clan spear. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Ouyang Shua appeared in his office on time. Knowing that the Sir Lord had returned, all the departments rushed to report their work. Ouyang Shua had no choice but to gather everyone in the meeting hall to discuss the matter. Ouyang Shua took a seat in the seat of honor as he looked around and smilingly said, "I've troubled all of you for the past 5 days. What do the various departments have to report? Let's start with the administrative office." Sun Yanong, the head of the Department of Agriculture, was the first to stand up and say, "Reporting to Darren, the Department of Agriculture has something to report. Please speak." After 3 months of careful domestication by the breeders, the 100 bison and 80 wild boars we caught before, except for the 10 calves and 5 boars that died prematurely, have all grown up and are ready to be released. As for the subsequent arrangements for these wild boars and wild cattle, I hope Sir can tell me. Sun Yanong said. "What does the Department of Agriculture think?" Ouyang Shua didn't answer directly. Sun Yanong seemed to have a plan in mind and said, "The Department of Agriculture thinks that the wild boars and bison should be handled separately. As for the wild boars, all the sows should be kept. As for the boars, except for 2 for breeding, the rest should be slaughtered. As for the bison, all of them should be kept to further expand the scale of breeding." Ouyang Shua nodded and said, "I basically agree with the Department of Agriculture's opinion. It's just that the handling of the bison should be more flexible. These bison are all good cattle for farming. Since they have grown up, it would be too wasteful to leave them in the pasture. How about this? These bison will be handed over to Pool Town for management. Department head son, you have to explain to Pool Town clearly. The bison can be given to the farmers for farming, but the calves produced by the bison must be distributed by Pool Town." "Understood. Darren's consideration is still thorough. I admire you." Sun Yanong respectfully retreated. After Sun Yanong retreated, Department Head Du Quan stood up and said loudly, "Reporting to Darren, the Department of Statistics has something to report." Ouyang Shua smiled and asked, "Department Head Du must have some good news?" Du Quan nodded and said, "To tell you the truth, it is indeed good news. Among the refugees spawned this week, an extremely special talent appeared. His name is Song Yin, and he once held the position of an enforcer." Disciplinary officer? Ouyang Shua was a little confused. "Let me explain it to my lord." Seeing Ouyang Shua's confusion, Fan Zhongyan, who was born in the Song dynasty, stood up and said, "The Song dynasty established the disciplinary officers, or disciplinary officers for short. They were in charge of the judiciary, prisons, and supervision of the various provinces. They were also in charge of agriculture. The disciplinary officers would patrol the provinces and counties under their jurisdiction regularly. They would impeach the local officials for delaying the trial and failing to catch the thieves on time. The disciplinary officers were also in charge of handling difficult cases, redressing wrongful convictions, and accepting appeals from the people. Therefore, those who could become disciplinary officers were not only familiar with the local government affairs, but also proficient in the law and judging cases. It was extremely rare. After listening to Fan Zhongyan's explanation, Ouyang Shua was enlightened. The disciplinary officers were amazing. In modern society, they were the chief prosecutor of the province, the head of the public security department, the president of the provincial high court, and the commander of the provincial military. Moreover, they were directly responsible to the central government and did not have a direct subordinate. After understanding the duties of the disciplinary officers, Ouyang Shua suddenly became very interested in this disciplinary officer called Song Yin. He smiled and said to Du Quan, "Since this Song Yin is so amazing, why don't you invite him over and let me meet him?" "Yes." Du Quan turned and walked out of the meeting hall. Less than 5 minutes later, Du Quan returned with a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was about 30 years old and wore a tight-fitting cotton robe. He was tall and straight, his face was sharp as a knife, his eyes were cold, and the wrinkles on his forehead were very obvious. He did not look like a scholar, but more like a military officer. "I, Song Yin, pay my respects to my lord." Song Yin immediately bowed and greeted him under Du Quan's signal. "Mr. Song, please rise." Ouyang Shua nodded and took the opportunity to look at his attribute. Name, Song Yin Gold. Identity, resident of Shanghai Town. Occupation, civil official, high scholar. Loyalty, 75 points. Commander, 20 martial power, 25 intelligence, 55 politics, 65 the skills. Hate evil, increases prestige by 15, clear injustice, increases efficiency of solving cases by 15, evaluation, once held the position of disciplinary officer, has rich experience as a local official, is familiar with the hidden rules of officialdom, proficient in the law, and good at solving cases. He has a strong disposition and is upright. He is straightforward and unyielding. He is indeed a rare talent. Ouyang Shua nodded with satisfaction and said, "Mr. is indeed talented. Since Mr. has held the position of disciplinary officer, why don't we set up an disciplinary department in Shanghai Town to be in charge of the territory's justice and prisons? Mr. will be the director. What do you think?" Ouyang Shua had set a limit on the responsibilities of the disciplinary officer according to the actual situation of Shanghai Town. He did not completely copy the official system of the Song dynasty, but only retained the two responsibilities of justice and prisons. It was similar to the combination of the judicial office and prison in modern society. Song Yin bowed again and said, "Thank you for your trust, my lord. I will definitely not let you down." As an experienced disciplinary officer, Song Yin naturally understood the meaning behind Ouyang Shua's words. After the interlude with the disciplinary officer, the other departments continued to make their reports. The director of the construction department, Zhao Duong, who had successfully replaced Zhao Yufang as the Lord's favorite because of his ability, stood up and said, "Reporting to my lord, the construction department has something to report. Please speak." The Storm Valley Military Horse Farm has been renovated. The construction department's next task, please arrange it, my lord. Ouyang Shuo nodded, very satisfied with the construction department's efficiency. He said with a smile, "Our next goal is to be promoted to a first-class county. Therefore, the construction department's next task is to complete the overall plan of the county in advance, including the preparatory work for the second city wall." Understood, Zhao Duong said with a nod. After the construction department's report, the administrative office's report came to an end. Ouyang Shuo turned to look at Tian Wenjing and asked, "Is there anything from the supplies department to report?" Tian Wenjing nodded and looked at Jing Shanpao of the carriage department, indicating for him to stand up and report. Jing Shanpao immediately stood up and said, "Reporting to my lord, the carriage department has 2 matters to report. Please speak." The first matter is also related to the Storm Valley Military Horse Farm. Just now, Director Zhao already said that the basic facilities of the horse farm have been completed. The carriage department has also begun to train the horse breeders and stock up fodder. It can be said that the preparatory work has been completed, only the stallions are missing. Jing Shanpao said. Ouyang Shuo nodded and did not express his opinion, indicating for Jing Shanpao to continue. The second matter is related to land transportation. Ever since we have the wooden ox, we have solved the problem of long-distance transportation. However, with the increase in population, we still do not have a transportation tool like horse carriages. This is somewhat inappropriate, so I want to ask my lord to coordinate. Jing Shanpao continued. Ouyang Shuo suddenly realized that this was his negligence. He only thought of transporting goods and forgot about the horse carriages. Speaking of which, the relay station built at the second-class township stage was still a decoration. Director Zheng's reminder is good. This is my negligence. How about this? The carriage department will choose a place and let the construction department build a horse carriage workshop to produce horse carriages by hand. As for the technical manual for horse carriage manufacturing, I will buy it from the market after the meeting. Ouyang Shuo said. Yes. Jing Shanpao said excitedly. Chapter 113. After Jing Shanpao left, Tian Wenjing got up and reported, "My lord, there's been some progress in the negotiations with the other barbarian tribes." Ouyang Shuo was shocked. "Please speak, sir." The 2 medium-sized tribes and 6 small tribes in the vicinity were first deterred by the Shanghai Town Army's powerful military force in the Storm Valley. During the negotiations, they learned that the Mystic Bird tribe and the other 3 small tribes have completely solved the problem of food and clothing after cooperating with us. Thanks to our efforts, these tribes finally let down their guard and are willing to cooperate with us, said Tian Wenjing. Good. Have you discussed the specific framework of the cooperation, sir? Ouyang Shuo asked with a smile. Tian Wenjing nodded. Yes. This subordinate has discussed the general contents of the cooperation with them and is waiting for you to come back and make the final decision. Please speak, sir. First is the cooperation in terms of soldiers. The barbarian tribes are willing to follow the example of the Mystic Bird tribe and send their most elite warriors to the Shanghai Town Army in exchange for subsidies. The small tribes will send 100 people, while the medium-sized tribes will send 200 people. That's a total of 1,000 people, enough for 2 battalions, said Tian Wenjing. Ouyang Shuo pondered for a moment and shook his head. Our cooperation with the Mystic Bird tribe 2 months ago was limited by the conditions at that time. Both sides didn't have enough trust at that time. That's why we decided to compromise by exchanging soldiers for subsidies. The flaw in this cooperation is very obvious. The barbarian soldiers in the Shanghai Town Army are all soldiers, but they don't get their own subsidies and have to hand them over to the tribe. Not only will this create a psychological gap in the barbarian soldiers, but it's also not conducive to enhancing their sense of belonging to the town. It's easy to cause them to lose their sentiments towards the town. This kind of emotional separation would cause the soldiers to lose their sense of honor. They were not fighting for Shanghai Town, but for their stipends. The loss of honor is undoubtedly a fatal blow to the army's combat strength. It's fine if the war goes smoothly, but how can they be asked to fight to the death if there's a setback on the battlefield? Military Chief Go Hongliang nodded in agreement. What you said is correct, sir. There are already bad signs in the army. The barbarian soldiers and the soldiers from Shanghai Town have been invisibly divided into two groups. After all, Tian Wenjing was a civil official and wasn't good at military affairs. He asked humbly, "Then, according to my lord's opinion, how should we deal with it?" Ouyang Shua faintly smiled and said, "The situation is different now. The strong and the weak have already been determined. When it's time to be tough, we must be tough. My opinion is that these selected barbarian warriors, including their families, must all settle down in Shanghai Town and truly become part of Shanghai Town. Only in this way could they truly be of one mind and form a cohesive force. Only then would the army not be divided into groups because of their different background. As compensation, every barbarian warrior would be given a lump sum of 1 gold coin to their tribe. In addition, give each tribe a batch of food at one time. The amount will be 100,000 units for medium-sized tribes and 50,000 units for small-sized tribes. The conditions given by the Lord are already very generous. The mountain barbarians have no reason to refuse, Tian Wenjing said excitedly. I'll have to trouble you with the specifics of the negotiation. In addition, the 700 barbarian soldiers that have already joined Shanghai Town will also have to follow the same method. Ouyang Shua added. Understood. Ouyang Shua nodded and said, Please continue with the other contents of the cooperation, Mr. Since the Wolf Mountain mine is already full, there's limited space for labor cooperation. According to Physician Song's reminder, the mountain is rich in all kinds of medicinal herbs. Therefore, this subordinate has made an agreement with the tribes that they will be responsible for gathering medicinal herbs in the mountain, and Shanghai Town will purchase them at market price. Or, we can directly exchange the medicinal herbs for food. Tian Wenjing was obviously dissatisfied with this negotiation and said with difficulty. Ouyang Shua furrowed his brows. This was not the result he wanted. He asked, Mister, have you tested these barbarian tribes to see if they are willing to go down the mountain and settle down in Shanghai Town? Tian Wenjing shook his head and said bitterly, This subordinate has tried repeatedly, but the result was not ideal. The situation in these barbarian homelands is very serious, especially for the older generation of barbarians. They would rather starve in the mountain than leave their tribes and live with us. Furthermore, these tribes have built ancestral temples, which are the embodiment of their tribe's totems and belief. It's simply impossible to abandon them. Settling down in Shanghai Town doesn't mean that they have to live with us. We can completely build relatively autonomous mountain barbarian settlements for them. As for the ancestral temples, it's not that we can't be flexible. Shanghai Town protects the freedom of religious belief of all subjects and respects the religious beliefs of all ethnic groups. We can completely build new ancestral temples for them in their settlements, and I guarantee that it will be more magnificent than their current ancestral temples. Ouyang Shua said unwillingly. Tian Wenjing's eyes lit up. He said, Your Highness is very thoughtful. This subordinate will continue to negotiate with the barbarian tribes according to the conditions Your Highness has given. Well, Mr. can first concentrate on attacking a certain tribe. It's best to choose a small tribe that is especially difficult to survive in. As long as someone takes the lead, the other tribes won't be shaken. When they see the real situation of the mountain barbarian settlements, even if a small number of people oppose it, they won't be able to stop the general trend. Ouyang Shua personally instructed. Understood. As for the medicinal herb cooperation that Mr. just mentioned, it's indeed very necessary. Although the territory has already built a medicinal herb garden, it's limited by the growing environment. Many medicinal herbs simply can't be cultivated in the medicinal herb garden and can only be picked in the deep mountains and forests. In this aspect, the mountain barbarians are experts. With the expansion of the territory, the demand for medicinal herbs will rapidly increase. It's very correct to plan early. Ouyang Shua didn't want Tian Wenjing to be too depressed and affirmed the results of this negotiation. Yes. As for the labor cooperation that Mr. just mentioned, moving the mountain barbarians out of the deep mountains is of course the best and also our final goal. However, in this process, it was not impossible to make some compromises. We can completely encourage those young mountain barbarians to bravely walk out of the deep mountains and come to Shanghai town to work or become apprentices. Whether it's a construction site or a large workshop, they can find a well-paid job that's enough to support their families. They are aggressive, more receptive to new things, and more adaptable to change. In this way, we can also slowly change the inherent views of the mountain barbarian tribes. Ouyang Shua said. Ouyang Shua's point of view wasn't just Tian Wenjing, even Fan Zhongyan, Cui Yingyu, and the others' eyes lit up. In the eyes of the ancients, this method of labor transfer that was used 200 years ago could still be described as earth-shattering. This subordinate admires the Lord's ingenious plan, Tian Wenjing said sincerely. Ouyang Shua waved his hand and smiled without saying anything. After the report from the Supplies Reserve Department, Yingyu took the initiative to stand up. Big brother, before you left, you mentioned the problem of the supervision of the Finance Bureau's funds. The Finance Bureau already has a countermeasure. Big brother, please make a decision. Yingyu said. Please speak. The Finance Bureau's suggestion is to establish an audit department under the Finance Bureau. The audit department's main responsibility is to audit the territory's revenue and expenditure in accordance with the law and efficiency, improve the efficiency of the use of financial funds, promote the construction of a clean government, and ensure the healthy development of the territory's economy. Yingyu continued. Ouyang Shua pondered for a moment and said with a frown, I agree to establish the audit department. However, the audit department's responsibility is to audit the revenue and expenditure. If it is established under the Finance Bureau, wouldn't that be the same as supervising ourselves? Then, what does Big Brother think? Yingyu asked apprehensively. The audit department still needs to operate independently. This way we can maintain the authority of the audit. Ouyang Shua said. Yingyu nodded and said, Understood. As for the director of the audit department, does the Finance Bureau have a suitable candidate to recommend? Ouyang Shua had just rejected the Finance Bureau's suggestion, and now he allowed the Finance Bureau to recommend a director candidate. The Finance Bureau's original choice for the director was Qin Shen from the business department. Qin Shen is just over 30 years old. He is a high scholar, and has only recently joined the business department. According to Division Chief Su's evaluation, this person is also from the Ministry of Revenue, proficient in finance and taxation, upright and strict. Yingyu said. If that's the case, bring him here, I'll meet him. Yingyu signaled to Division Chief Qian Lifei, who was sitting behind her. Qian Lifei understood and immediately got up to leave the meeting hall. Not long after, he brought a middle-aged scholar in. This person had a medium build and was dressed meticulously. His figure was thin, he was just over 30 years old, and his cheeks were a little sunken. Subordinate Qin Shen greets Darren. After the middle-aged scholar entered, he bowed and said, Please rise. Ouyang Shua took the opportunity to check Qin Shen's personal attribute. Name, Qin Shen, silver, identity, Shanghai Town's Business Department Basic Level Clerk Occupation, Civil Official, High Scholar, Loyalty, 80 points Commander a 20 Martial Power, 10 Intelligence, 48 Politics, 55 Skills. Upright and outspoken, increase prestige by 15, Evaluation, former Ministry of Revenue Clerk, proficient in finance and taxation, honest, upright, and strict. Qin Shen. After the recommendation of the Finance Bureau Chief Cui Yingyu, I have decided to appoint you as the Director of the Audit Department. I hope that you will lead the Audit Department and guard the audit well. Ouyang Shua said solemnly. Many thanks for your recommendation, I will not let you down. Qin Shen said solemnly. System notification. Congratulations to player not saying you have no clothes. Qin Shen has been put in an important position, loyalty increased by 5 points. After dealing with the audit department's matters, it was already 11:30 in the morning. Ouyang Shua announced the end of the report. As for the military affairs, he was prepared to hold a special military meeting after he came down. Chapter 114. At 2 in the afternoon, Ouyang Shua didn't stay in the mansion. Instead, he went to Friendship Town on the other side of the Friendship River with Go Hongliang and Song San. Old Zhang was still the ferryman at Shanghai Town's ferry. Of course, the simple wooden raft that Ouyang Shua made had been decommissioned a long time ago. He was now using a high-class fishing boat, similar to a black awning boat. Ouyang Shua sighed as he sat on the boat and looked at the sparkling surface of the river. Half a year had passed without him noticing. Back then, he brought Shi Wansui with him to the Lianzhou Basin and overcame all obstacles to establish the Shanghai village. At that time, there were many things waiting to be done in Shanghai village. In less than 5 months, the small village had become Shanghai Town, which occupied 1,000 square kilometers and had a population of nearly 30,000. It became the unshakable number 1 territory of the players in China. However, if one did not advance, they would fall back. The current Shanghai Town seemed so insignificant in the future struggle for hegemony. At the dock of Friendship Town, Zhou Haichen, the governor of Friendship Town, and Lin Yi, the commander of the cavalry battalion, were waiting with a group of officials and generals, ready to welcome Ouyang Shua. This was the first time the Lord came to Friendship Town for an inspection. They couldn't be careless. After the black awning boat docked, Zhou Haichen and the others warmly welcomed them with a smile. Welcome to Friendship Town, sir. Ouyang Shua walked out of the cabin and smiled as he waved goodbye to old man Zhang. Only then did he turn around and say to Zhou Haichen, "It's only a simple inspection. Is there a need to mobilize so many people?" Zhou Haichen's expression froze. He knew that Lin Yi didn't like this kind of situation. Ouyang Shua didn't want Zhou Haichen to be too embarrassed. He nodded to the officials and generals as Zhou Haichen and Lin Yi introduced them. The administrative structure of Friendship Town was similar to that of the headquarters, but there were some differences. Among the 4 main divisions, only the headquarters had the military division. The subsidiary territories weren't permanent organizations. Only the combat division was kept as a logistics department. Other than that, the Special Salt Field Department was also a department unique to the headquarters. The civil officials in Friendship Town naturally couldn't compare to those in the headquarters. However, among the government officials at the grassroots level, they were also the cream of the crop. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the opportunity to be sent here to preside over the government affairs of a department and a bureau. Ouyang Shua only hoped that this group of people would be able to mature as soon as possible. As for the generals, they were all old acquaintances. The 5 platoon jarls of the cavalry battalion, including Hu Yibiao, the commanding general of the Friendship Town garrison, were all promoted and appointed by him. Naturally, there was no need for pleasantries. After a brief stay at the dock, the group rushed back to Friendship Town. From afar they could see the tall walls of Friendship Town and the grand southern gate. Fortunately, Zhou Haichen knew his limits and did not arrange for the commoners to line the streets to welcome them. As they walked into Friendship Town, Zhou Haichen introduced Friendship Town to Ouyang Shuo. Friendship Town currently had a population of more than 2,600 people. It was about a week away from being promoted to a second-class town. Of course, the cavalry battalion stationed outside the city was not included. In order to guard against the nomads in the north, Friendship Town's agriculture was concentrated in the south, next to the Friendship River and Qiushui River. Some industries that needed to be built outside the city, such as brick kilns and pottery factories, were also built on the east and west sides of the city, surrounded by the moat. Because it was located in the plains, Friendship Town was extremely short of basic resources such as wood, stone, and iron ore. Basically, it was transported by the headquarters and pool town. The coordination in the middle was naturally the work of the Resource Reserve Department. Of course, Friendship Town was not without its own advantages. Not to mention the livestock industry that was to be developed in the future, it also had a unique geographical advantage in the field of agriculture. The south was located at the confluence of the Friendship River and Qiushui River. It was rich in water resources and the land was fertile. The cultivated farmland was much better than that of Shanghai Town. In this area, 20,000 mu of fertile farmland had been cultivated, and all of it was planted with paddy rice. In the future, Friendship Town would become a food-producing base that was second only to Pool Town. At the same time, in order to form a unique advantage for Friendship Town and not be outdone by the two affiliated territories, Beihai Town and Pool Town, Zhou Haichen racked his brains to develop the forging and textile industries. These industries were prepared in advance for the future trade with the nomads. This showed Zhou Haichen's ambition and anxiety. It could be said that whether or not they could open up the trade route with the nomads would affect the position of Friendship Town. If they could open up the trade route, Friendship Town could be transformed into a trading city, becoming the link between the headquarters and the hinterland. If they could not open up the trade route, then Friendship Town would be trapped and completely degenerate into a military fortress. Therefore, Zhou Haichen had high hopes for Ouyang Shuo's arrival. Ever since the construction of the moat was completed, Zhou Haichen had already sent people to try to contact the nomads in the north and had made some progress. However, it was up to the leader, Ouyang Shuo, to decide what kind of strategy to adopt with these nomads. Unfortunately, what Zhou Haichen did not know was that Ouyang Shuo's visit to Friendship Town was just a pretense. His real goal was to target the green beetle horses on the plains. It had been 2 months since the establishment of the armor workshop. The first batch of 50 radiant armor had been completed. Unfortunately, because there were no suitable warhorses, they could not be equipped into the cavalry camp. How could Ouyang Shuo not be anxious? In the meeting hall of Friendship Town, Ouyang Shuo dismissed all the civil officials, including Zhou Haichen, leaving only the generals to hold a military meeting. Division Chief Gu, tell me, has there been any progress with the green beetle horses? Ouyang Shuo asked. This trip to Friendship Town was originally arranged by Go Hongliang. With Go Hongliang's cautious personality, he would not rashly bring Ouyang Shuo here if there was no breakthrough. Go Hongliang nodded and said, "Reporting to Sir, the Intelligence Division has obtained important information. 5 days ago, the small tribe on the west side of Friendship Town had just received over 100 fine green beetle horses from the Heaven Mark tribe. They are preparing to expand the scale of breeding green beetle horses. This is a heaven-sent opportunity." Ouyang Shuo's heart moved, but he did not show it on his face. "Oh, what do you mean?" "What this subordinate means is very simple. This opportunity cannot be missed, it will not come again. We might as well go all the way and loot this small tribe. If possible, we can also shift the blame to the middle-sized tribe to the north of Friendship Town, further alienating the relationship between the middle-sized tribe and the Heaven-Mark tribe. Go Hongliang said calmly, as if he had no idea what kind of sea of blood would be created if he really did what he said. How many people does that small tribe have, and how many warriors? Ouyang Shua asked cautiously. This type of information was naturally answered by the Military Intelligence Division. Lei Sun, the leader of the 2nd Intelligence Division, stood up and said, "Reporting to Sir, the Intelligence Division has already investigated. This small tribe's grazing area is less than 500 square kilometers, and they only have 800 people and 300 warriors." Ouyang Shi turned to Lin Yi and asked, "Are you confident?" Naturally, he knew what he meant by confident. It's not hard to take out their main force, but the hard part is not leaving any survivors. These nomads, be it men or women, all know how to ride horses. If we're not careful, there might be fish that slip through the net. For the green beetle horses, Ouyang Shua was prepared to wield the butcher's knife. What does the military division think? Ouyang Shua looked at Go Hongliang again. Go Hongliang was prepared for this. We have to do it cleanly, and a surprise attack is the most effective. Also, in order to prevent the situation General Lin mentioned, other than the main force attacking the tribe, we need to arrange for guards to kill the fish that slip through the net. Ouyang Shua nodded. It's a good plan. However, we're facing 300 nomadic riders who are skilled with bows and horses. It's already difficult for the cavalry battalion to attack head-on. How will we have the strength to arrange for troops to intercept them? Sir, you're right. With the current forces in the territory, it's hard to complete this attack. The only plan is to increase the number of troops. Go Hongliang said. Ouyang Shua felt a headache coming. Is it appropriate to increase the number of troops before we're promoted to a first-level city? Don't forget that there are still 1,000 elite warriors waiting for us at the mountain barbarian side. Go Hongliang had obviously considered everything and spoke confidently. Sir, the military division has a plan to reorganize the troops. Please make a decision. Speak. This is what I'm thinking. Our main camp will accept 500 of these 1,000 mountain barbarian warriors to form the 2nd Heavy Infantry Battalion. The remaining 500 will be divided into 300 to go to Pool Town. In addition to the 2 garrison companies, we'll form the Pool Town's City Defense Battalion. The last 200 people will be distributed to Friendship Town. Recruit another 100 people on the spot to change their occupation to cavalry and form the Friendship Town's City Defense Battalion. In this way, the overflow of troops won't be too serious. Similarly, for this operation, we can transfer a cavalry company from Pool Town's City Defense Battalion and 2 cavalry companies from Friendship Town's City Defense Battalion to participate in the operation. Ouyang Shua's eyes lit up. In this way, other than the cavalry battalion and the infantry battalion, it wouldn't exceed the 10% recruitment ratio that he had initially set. All right, we'll go with this. Everyone, hurry up and get ready. Ouyang Shua made the decision and announced the appointment and dismissal of military personnel. He said, "Pass my order from the military division, appoint Zhang Denyo as the Pool Town's City Defense Battalion commander, appoint Hu Yibiao as the Friendship Town's City Defense Battalion commander and appoint Shi Hu as the 2nd Infantry Battalion commander." Yes. Go Hongliang nodded and said, Zhang Denyo, the squad leader who had competed with Zhao Sihu in the past, had finally been promoted to battalion commander and was once again on par with Zhao Sihu. Hu Yibiao was luckier. After being stationed in Friendship Town for slightly more than a month, he was promoted to battalion commander and was one step ahead of his seniors. As for the 2nd Infantry Battalion, the reason why Ouyang Shua promoted Shi Hu from the 2nd Infantry Battalion instead of the 1st Infantry Battalion commander, Wang Feng, was because he had his own considerations. Firstly, Shi Hu's promotion was beneficial in condensing the mountain barbarian warriors' sense of belonging and showing them the Shanhai town's meritocracy. Secondly, Ouyang Shua had other long-term plans for Wang Feng. Chapter 115. After the reorganization of the army, the temporary military conference in Friendship Town came to an end. After the meeting, Ouyang Shuo did not return to the base camp. Instead, he officially began his inspection tour in Friendship Town with Zhou Haichen. Walking on the streets of Friendship Town, Ouyang Shuo began to calculate the cost of the army expansion. First was the one-time compensation for the barbarian warriors. The 3 batches of barbarian warriors amounted to 1,700 gold coins. In addition to the one-time subsidy of 500,000 units of grain, it was another 500 gold coins. Then there was the job change fee. 1,000 infantrymen cost 500 gold coins, 100 cavalrymen cost 150 gold coins, for a total of 650 gold coins. All these costs added up to 2,850 gold coins. The 3,000 gold coins previously reserved would be used up in one go. The next morning, Ouyang Shuo went to the mayor's office to listen to Zhou Haichen's report on the trade with the nomadic tribes. Zhou Haichen invited Ouyang Shuo to the main seat and sat down. He said, "Sir, there is a medium-sized tribe north of Friendship Town called the Tianfeng tribe. It has more than 3,500 people and a pasture area of 1,500 square kilometers, which is larger than our territory. The chief of the Tianfeng tribe is called Dari Achi. He is 35 years old and is said to be of Mongolian descent. No one knows how he ended up here. Dari Achi means suppression in Mongolian. This shows the ambition and aspiration of this chief. After the construction of the moat was completed, I sent the chief administrative officer of Friendship Town as an emissary to visit Dari Achi with gifts. Although Dari Achi was surprised by the arrival of the messenger, he did not do anything out of line. After receiving the gifts, he received him in a very friendly manner. What made people not know whether to laugh or cry was that when the messenger returned, a group of Tianfeng tribe cavalrymen appeared on the other side of the moat. However, when they saw the wide moat, the tall city walls, and the barracks outside the city, they were immediately dumbfounded and resentfully returned. This Dari Achi is really not someone to be trifled with. He is very shrewd. Interestingly, not long after the cavalrymen left, the Tianfeng tribe sent a messenger, saying that they wanted to discuss trade with us. For a moment, I couldn't come to a conclusion as to what this Dari Achi was planning. I wanted to report to you, but the Lord's residents said that you were in seclusion, so they used a delaying tactic. Fortunately, Your Excellency returned in time. As for how to deal with this matter, I hope Your Excellency can tell us." Ouyang Shuo furrowed his brows and said, "From your description just now, this Dari Achi is probably a two-faced character. I don't think it's wise to reveal the existence of our headquarters right now. How about this, you will be in charge of the trade with the Sky Abundant tribe. We only want the green beetle horse. As for the goods, whether it be food, salt, iron ore, tea leaves, or even the 3-flower wine, we can use them to trade. You'll have to figure out the exact scale yourself. The general principle is, as long as we can get the green beetle horses, giving them a little profit is acceptable." Zhou Haichen was pleasantly surprised and said excitedly, "Understood, please rest assured, my lord. In addition, you have to choose the location of the transaction carefully. You can build a temporary transaction place next to the moat so that both parties can be at ease. Try to make the first transaction within this week," Ouyang Shuo instructed. As for why it was within a week, it was naturally to coordinate with the subsequent military operations. "Yes." Ouyang Shuo nodded and said, "Haichen, it seems that choosing you to manage Friendship Town was the right choice. After 2 days of observation, I found that Friendship Town was built in an orderly manner. Even when faced with the threat of the northern nomadic tribes, the people were still calm. You were still able to think of opening the trade route under these circumstances. That's very impressive." Ouyang Shuo finally came to a conclusion after this inspection. Zhou Haichen was clearly very excited after receiving His Excellency's high praise. He said, This subordinate's achievements today are all thanks to your Excellency's nurturing and promotion. I don't dare claim credit and will definitely do my best to protect your Excellency. If that's the case, I am very comforted, Ouyang Shuo said in the end. On the 8th of May, Friendship Town and the Sky Abundant Tribe conducted their first transaction. According to the Sky Abundant Tribe's price, a high-quality green beetle horse was worth 5 gold coins. If converted to the goods in Friendship Town, it would be 5,000 units of food, 2,500 units of salt, 1,000 units of iron ore, or 500 units of 3-flower wine. Therefore, the purchasing power of the green beetle horse was extremely terrifying. Because it was their first transaction, both sides were more cautious. The Sky Abundant Tribe was willing to use 100 high-quality green beetle horses to exchange for 100,000 units of food, 2,500 units of salt, 60,000 units of iron ore, and 10,000 units of 3-flower wine. This was equivalent to asking for another batch of salt. Zhou Haichen remembered Ouyang Shuo's instructions. He was willing to suffer a small loss in exchange for the green beetle horse. Therefore, this transaction could be said to be a happy one for everyone. On the Friendship Town side, they obtained the green beetle horse that they yearned for even in their dreams. On the Sky Abundant Tribe's side, they only used 100 warhorses to obtain an unimaginable amount of goods. In order to express their gratitude, the Sky Abundant Tribe additionally gifted them 3 elite green beetle horses. Each of their attributes was 40% higher than a perfect green beetle horse. Name: Perfect Green Beetle Horse, Dark Gold, weight, 120 kg speed, 60 km/day consumption, 4 units of food/day evaluation. According to legend, the green beetle horse is the product of the union between an ancient divine insect, the green beetle, and a wild horse. As a result, the green beetle horse inherited the green beetle god's will. It runs like the wind and knows its way. It is a top-class warhorse. As expected of a top-class warhorse, the weight it could carry was double that of a normal warhorse, and its running speed was also faster. Only a warhorse like this could carry a heavy cavalry wearing the radiant armor. Name: Elite Green Beetle Horse, Purple Gold, weight, 168 kg speed, 84 km/day cost. 5 units of food/day evaluation, the elite of the green beetle horses, extremely suitable as a general's mount. Ouyang Shuo gave these 100 green beetle horses to the 1st Squadron of the Cavalry Battalion. As for the 3 elite green beetle horses, they were divided between Ouyang Shuo, Lin Yi, and the 1st Squadron's captain, Li Mingliang. With the green beetle horses, the radiant armor forged by the first workshop could finally be put to use. The radiant armor was divided according to the complexity of the forging process. There were 4 levels: Soldier Radiant Armor, General Radiant Armor, and Commander Radiant Armor. The highest level that the first workshop could forge was the General Radiant Armor. Name: Soldier Radiant Armor, Gold, Type, Heavy Armor, Weight, 36 kg, Defense, 55 Toughness, 50 Evaluation. On the chest and back of the armor, there are oval-shaped metal plates called the Round Guard. They can reflect dazzling light under the sun, hence the name Radiant Armor. Name: Soldier Radiant Armor, Dark Gold, Type, Heavy Armor, Weight, 40 kg Defense, 70 Toughness, 55 Evaluation. Compared to the Soldier Radiant Armor, the Soldier Radiant Armor is more complicated. Name: General Radiant Armor, Purple Gold, Type, Heavy Armor, Weight, 45 kg Defense, 85 Toughness, 60 Evaluation. Compared to the Soldier Radiant Armor, the General Radiant Armor is more complicated and expensive. Up until now, the first workshop had only forged one set of General Radiant Armor, and naturally, it was made specifically for Ouyang Shuo. The first workshop's master Wang Zhuan and the master tailor Mu Qingxi had spent more than a month and failed 5 times before they finally succeeded. This kind of success was partly due to luck and partly due to Qing Er's master-level skills. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to succeed. Wang Zhuan had also used this opportunity to break through to Master Blacksmith. As for the highest-level General Radiant Armor, Ouyang Shuo guessed that he would have to wait until Wang Zhuan and Qing Er both became Grandmasters before he could forge it. With this set of General Radiant Armor, the leather armor that Ouyang Shuo had previously worn was no longer useful, so he gave it to Zhao Si. Ouyang Shuo once again checked his personal attribute. Name: How can I have no clothes? Title: State Scholar, increases favorability of historical characters by 25. Territory: Shanghai Town. Occupation: General, part-time. Level 45. Merit points: 15400/25600. A noble title. Second rank Earl. Reputation, fame, 12850/1000000. Root bone, 18. Comprehension, 21. Fortune source, 5. Charm, 8. Commander, 59 plus 10. Martial power, 22 plus 5. Intelligence, 14. Politics, 51. Talent, locked cultivation techniques, 8. Extremes. Fist scripture, advanced, Yang family spear scripture, first glimpse, art of war, 6. Strategies. Wu Tao volume, the skills, advanced gathering technique, beginner shipbuilding technique, intermediate diplomacy technique, advanced detection technique, advanced weapon mastery, basic horsemanship technique, basic spear technique, basic archery technique. Mount, elite green beetle horse, purple gold, accessory, ring of courage, black iron, barbaric strength, silver, equipment, high-quality composite bow, gold, high-quality fine iron sword, gold, high-quality fine iron spear, gold, general radiant armor, purple gold. Special items: Bloodthirst Talisman, Stamina Talisman, Military Talisman, Substitute Doll. During this period of battle, Ouyang Shuo's level had increased by another 5, reaching level 45. At the same time, his achievement and reputation points had increased to varying degrees. As for the barbaric strength accessory, it was a necklace with a pair of wild boar tusks the size of a thumb. Naturally, it was made by Magnus using the tusks of the wild boar king. Its attributes were as follows: Frowny face. Name: Barbaric strength, silver. Attribute: increases martial power by 5. Evaluation: high-level alchemist. Magnus used the tusks of the wild boar king. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.